Chapter 55-77. Under the care of the old monk, Mo Luo had a pretty good childhood. When he was 12 years old, the old monk went out for alms and never returned. After gaining the Tao, Mo Luo also went to check the traces of the old monk, but couldn't find it at all. At that time, Mo Luo was very young and didn't even have a better bowl in the stone temple. He could only do the craftsmanship his mother left him. Beggar, talking along the way, looking around for news of the old monk. It was also at this time that he met for the first time the noble person who put him on the path of spiritual practice, the princess of the Mora kingdom in the mundane world. Although it was only a dynasty of the common world, the princess was an outer disciple of the sect of cultivation. It is also because of that princess that Mo Luo is called Mo Luo. I remember that when he met the other party, he didn't eat a bite of food for 3 days, and when he was about to faint from hunger on the road, he met the princess. Although he was hungry in a trance at that time, he remembered the appearance of the other party for a lifetime. Speaking of this, Mo Luo had reminiscences in his eyes, as well as a trace of sadness. The grace of a meal. He has never remembered that bowl of rice that year. It was precisely because of this bowl of rice that he not only embarked on the demon path, but also led the demon kingdom from a mundane dynasty to the realm of comprehension and even became a pinnacle power. And he was also considered a top power in the realm. It's a pity that the princess has already left. After Jian Wushuang listened, he understood. No wonder the background of the royal family of the Mayuo kingdom is so weak, and the great elder can still be retained. And the feelings have been repaying the favor, from a mundane to a superb. Even Jian Wushuang felt incredible during this journey. A beggar who can't get enough food in ordinary times can set foot on cultivation. At this time, he understood why Mo Luo said he was wrong. Although the land boundary is chaotic, the magic road is rampant, but a beggar can embark on the road of cultivation, which shows that the threshold for treating the bottom is not high. At least there is almost no threshold for blood. As long as you have the qualifications to practice, you can embark on this path. Compared with the secret realm of the human world, the realm is heaven. These casual cultivators in the human world rely on their own groping to get to this step with many difficulties. If they enter the oldest force like Fengmen Mountain, they may be able to soar into the sky. But unfortunately, because of the background trapped, this is a big loss. As Jian Wushuang, who is expected to become the heir to the Temple of Qixin in the future, he can't just look at it. He wants to change. On the ring that Xianzhou had already lost, there weren't so many defying links, and the strength was too bad. Just like the Emperor slaughtering the immortals. The Fengminshan disciple, who pretended to be a loose repairer, not only defeated Xianzhou, but also abolished the opponent's cultivation base. It's simply a rush to kill. With the help of a group of casual cultivators, Xianzhou stood up with difficulty and looked at the 10 people who had successfully entered Fengmen Mountain on the ring. The fear in his heart and the reluctance in his eyes were beyond words. Practicing assiduously, surpassing the mountains and ridges for decades, now I am at the threshold of the doorstep. Brother Xianzhou, don't be too sad. With your talent, even if you can't enter Fengmen Mountain, you can still enter other weak sections. There will be a boundless future in the future. Someone comforted. But Xianzhou knew that the cultivation base had been abandoned, and there was no hope. Unlike the lonely exits of these casual cultivators, the family's children did not change their expressions. Even if they haven't entered Fengmen Mountain, their cultivation base is still reserved, and they can go to other sects and try again. As for casual cultivators, wanting to cross the range of one sect and go to other sects is simply a fantasy. In the mountains and rivers, monsters are rampant, and being able to come to Fengmen Mountain is already considered good. At this time, Jian Wushuang could not stand it for a long time and directly leaked his figure. The people below instantly felt a terrifying aura standing on top of their heads like the sun. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo were floating in the air, staring coldly at the people below. The elders of those families have also seen some things in the world. Knowing that the people here are extraordinary, they must be immortals, and they quickly respectfully worship. Farewell, God. Senshio also reacted at this time and bowed to see him. For those family, Jian Wushuang did not have a good face and fell directly into the casual cultivator, which made those family powerhouses a little puzzled. The juniors don't know, but the strong in the family are very clear about the rules of this world. The powerhouses who can cultivate to become immortals are all from a family or from a big power. So how can they take care of some casual cultivators? Jian Wushuang ignored these people and went straight to Xianjiu. A trace of life force turned into everything and gathered into Xianjiu's body. A breath of breath broke out from Xianjiu's body in an instant, and several casual repairers who supported Xianjiu on the side were directly shaken back for several battles. Xianjiu, who had been severely injured and abandoned, completely recovered. Not only his cultivation base was restored, but his strength also skyrocketed. And it skyrocketed in an instant. The clan children looked shocking. Xianjiu's aura had surpassed those strong in the clan. On the ring, the face of the Fengminshan disciple who defeated Xianjiu earlier changed slightly. He was originally responsible for abolishing these disciples who were sent out by the sect. Okanshu. Calm turned out to be due to misfortune. Envy rose for a while. Xianjiu was very excited. It was the first time he saw Shangxian. He didn't expect that the other party would help him regain his strength and also help him improve his cultivation. Now, he himself can't control his strength. According to the hierarchy rules of the human world, he is now in the realm of law. Right now, he bowed down and said respectfully, "Thank you, God." Jian Wushuang leaked a smile, turned his head to look at Mo Luo, and said, "He has good potential, so you can help me accept him as a disciple." Yes. Mo Luo was a little surprised. He just knew that Jian Wushuang couldn't understand what the human world did. He didn't expect that he would accept a mundane disciple as soon as he shot. However, the other party's potential is indeed not small if he is in the boundary. Even if he has no background, he can still embark on the path of immortality. With his training now, it is not difficult to become an emperor. Hearing that someone was about to accept him as a disciple, Xianjiu was stunned for a moment, and then reacted, turning around and banging his head 3 times to Devil Luo. Mo Luo looked a little happy. The dark-skinned young man with short hair had a personality that was very similar to him. He had an indomitable spirit, and he accepted it well. Jian Wushuang, next to him, looked at each other's joy, but sighed in his heart. It is better to teach people how to fish than to teach people how to fish. I understand this principle, but it is very difficult to really do it. If he wants to change, he has to mess up the secret world of the world. If he does this, I am afraid that the temple will have to take action. So he has to come up with a countermeasure. Build a pinnacle power, just in the human world. It is wrong to act rashly, but it will offend all the forces in the entire human world. If you offend these people, even if you want to help these low-level casual cultivators, there is no way. Chapter 55-78. In a world, there is no top powerhouse, no matter how great the potential of casual cultivation. It is difficult to reach the peak. With guidance, there is a world of difference from crossing the river by feeling the stones. Mo Luo looked at the dark boy in front of him and thought of himself. That princess, once a meal, allowed him to create the Maluo Empire, and everyone who helped him at the beginning was in a high position. He was the only one who resisted everything. Go all the way and become the best. Get up, the elder Ma Yuo said mildly, and the first time he accepted a disciple, it became more and more pleasing to the eye. Jian Wushuang stared, but there was a slight change in the source. He could actually see the top of Xian Zhou's head with a line. Above the lines, there are blocks of pictures. It was the future. A journey of pursuing the original heart unexpectedly made him realize the time. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He was a Taoist who hadn't reached the realm of a black hole in the origin of his space, but he was able to perceive time. This is cause and effect. He understood it instantly, and cause and effect moved time, allowing him to see the other side's future. That picture is the battlefield. Staring at him, Jian Wushuang saw a dilapidated battlefield where was the entire human world. The ruins and the broken walls are added together. The blood-colored sky, the dark emperor, the broken stones, and the broken bones. It's like on Earth. Xian Zhou stood in the sky, just like Shura. The aura on his body made Jian Wushuang a little afraid now. I originally thought that even if the other party had the help of Mo Luo, it would be good to be an emperor, but it seemed that the opponent's future would be an absolute powerhouse. Break everything? Jian Wushuang closed his eyes, pointed out, the life force burst out instantly, and everything around him grew crazily. A piece of grass instantly turned into a towering tree. A grain of dust rose from the ground and became a mountain. As for those mundane practitioners who were watching, they turned into powder in an instant. The horror of life force, but these people can absorb. Those few powerful family elders were surprised when they felt the power of life. The realm continued to rise, and they almost became immortals. As a result, the gods collapsed in the next moment, and the power of life on their bodies was swallowed by a powerful force. Absorb. Although Mo Luo knew Jian Wushuang's strength and also understood the horror of life force, how could he restore a severely wounded tribulation realm to its peak in a short time? At the beginning, in the big formation, he felt the terrifying life force continuously transforming into the power of all things. Now, when I feel the violent life force positively, I am still extremely shocked. This is much rarer than the original treasures. If he can get it, I am afraid that it will not be a problem to cultivate the mountain for a long time. This terrifying life force is directed at Xian Zhou. Young master, why is this? Mo Luo didn't understand. It was okay just now. Why did you do it all of a sudden? Jian Wushuang's eyebrows flickered, and even the beasts were used. He turned his head to look at Mo Luo. His face was a bit savage, and he said frantically, because I don't believe in fate. If the future is true, then how can Xian Zhou stop him from this blow? He wants to see that this will not be accurate in the future. Facing the green energy, Xian Zhou didn't know why. Everything around him disappeared, and his body came to an ocean. The violent life force is so pure here. He hooked a little, countless energy gathered into the body, and the realm directly climbed all the way. Jian Wushuang just released the power of life, not actually doing it. Just do it. I'm afraid Xian Zhou would have died long ago. He just wants to see what is special about Xian Zhou, and everything in the future is hard to say. Call. Xian Zhou, who felt the power of life, was constantly getting stronger. Jian Wushuang's chest rose and fell, almost releasing all the power of life in his body, but the other party took it one by one. It seems that the opponent's life is really hard. In the future, it may be possible. He's very good. After Jian Wushuang took a breath, his origin instantly recovered to its peak, turning his head to look at Mo Luo, and said, "You have accepted a good apprentice." This sentence made Mo Luo a little puzzled. How did he accept a good apprentice? After not reacting to it for a while, he heard an angry shout erupting from the life force. Only then did Mo Luo understand. On this day, at the foot of Fengmen Mountain, a young man was loosely cultivating. He breathed into the immortal and embarked on the path of immortality. As for Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo, they had already left. When he left, Jian Wushuang didn't say hello. There were a few sixth-order emperors on the top of the mountain, but they didn't dare to come down. But as long as you inquire, you can know the identity of Mo Luo and him. Xianzhou's future is the human world, and it is not good to bring it around. Become an immortal. Growth is very fast. The human world in the future will be changed because of Xianzhou. There is no need for Jian Wushuang to take action. As long as the people in the temple know the relationship between Xianzhou and him and do not interfere with him. Xianzhou's road needs to go on his own. Just like his current path, maybe it can be done by one person, the West Hammer of the human world. In the boring desert, except for some hungry beasts, there are countless grains of sand. Is thousands of miles away, and there is no one. There is not even a mundane one. On the extreme west, there are some scattered oases, and there are many tribes here, most of which are mundane, and there are few practitioners. The mundane world without practitioners has no order. Water sources are completely monopolized, and if you want to drink water, you need to pay a price. My Luocheng. Speaking of a city, it is actually more like a dilapidated town. The only thing that stands out in the city is a huge stone statue of the orc. Under the stone statue, a group of unclothed, ordinary people, thousands of people, each skinny, holding some weird-shaped utensils in their hands, some even holding the dry bones of wild beasts as utensils. They raise their heads, not afraid of the violent sunlight, just waiting. What are these commonplaces doing? Outside the crowd, a young man turned his head to look at a black-robed old man and asked curiously. The old man groaned for a while, staring at the stone statue for a while, thinking of something, and replied, "Should be waiting for the water." Water. The young man squinted and stared at the stone statue. The next moment, the blood of the stone statue opened its mouth wide, and the fresh water spurted out, and the mundane underneath was squeezed upward like a madness. Compared with the crowd, the water column is a bit smaller. Too much trouble. The young man shook his head and looked at it, piercing through the stone statue, and then the stone statue burst. Boom. The stone statue burst, countless fresh water poured out, and this city became a lake. The old man frowned and said calmly, "Young master, this will harm them." Why? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. One old and one young. They are Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo. They came to the human world desert to find out the whereabouts of Huiqing and Jiangshang. They almost traversed the entire West. After searching for decades, they found no clue. Chapter 55, 79. The two rose into the air. Mo Luo next to him pointed down, and then a towering barren beast leaped out of the desert through the sand, and the body that was a full 1,000-foot sized heavily smashed into the lake that had just formed. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said, "It turns out that such a thing is at work. It's not that simple. These mundanes can't keep this lake at all. It won't be long before a stronger tribe will attack this place." Jian Wushuang might not have paid attention to these, but Mo Luo has always paid attention to the mundane and mundane world of Shima in addition to searching for Huiqing over the years, and learned the rules of the mundane and mundane world here. Greatly hidden in the city, maybe Jiangshang took Huiqing and hid in the commonplace. Perhaps. Jian Wushuang nodded, and then the two continued to search forward. Nianli traveled through hundreds of millions of miles, and after searching like this, he couldn't find Huiqing even after an era. If the opponent ran to other places, he would be looking for nothing. Now, Jiangshang should not dare to take Huiqing away from the human world. That would be tantamount to throwing himself into the trap. Even if the temple does not make a move, I am afraid he will be notified to go. Probably still hiding here. Cause and effect. This is the biggest connection between Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing. I didn't want to be so nasty, but it's no way to find it like this. Looking for so many years, a waste of time. Seeking aimlessly will only waste your own practice time. Now Ji Dao is complete, and Sword Dao is also complete. With Nie Yuan's original inheritance, he drew another powerful ultimate kendo from it. Starry Sky. That kendo aura, although not as perverted as Ji Dao, but it is not weak on Ji Dao. Ji Dao is not the main killer. The pursuit is broader than Ken Dao. Kendo is the only one pursuing the strongest killing among all the ways. The two are also complementary. Young master, it's not a way to find it like this. It's better to dispatch people from the temple to search together. Mo Luo was aside, seeing the current embarrassment. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said firmly, "This matter must be handled personally. If others can widen the true spirit, let the power of the Jia realm Zhong go there, and had to look for him. This is also the cruelty of Zhenling. Knowing the relationship between the two, he still wants to make a move. Add cause and effect. Jian Wushuang couldn't hide it. Without beheading Jiang Shang, the future will not only be a great disaster for the Temple of Qishan, but also a great disaster for him. Now true spirit is not in a hurry. If he can solve Jiang Shang, Hui Qing still has a way to survive. When it's really a last resort, I'm afraid Zhenling will do it himself. And then even Hui Qing will clean up together. Had it not been for cherishing talents, I would have done it a long time ago. So this time, he was not only to resolve personal grievances or to go to Hui Qing for some treasures, but to preserve Hui Qing. If he takes action, when Zhenling pushes this matter to his head, Hui Qing will at least not be depressed and leave the Temple of Qishan. Maybe because of Jian Wushuang, he will continue to develop his potential and go further. Today's Hui Qing, among the inheritors, can be regarded as a Shang, and it can also be ranked in the top 3 or even second. There have been some 6th-order emperors on the Tomb God Mountain, but the absolute powerhouse has never heard of them. Such a peerless arrogant can't just give up so easily. Jian Wushuang also didn't want Hui Qing to be abandoned because of a woman. Don't blame me, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself, and then took out a mirror-like treasure. A drop of blood fell, and immediately caused a burst of thought power, spread out, and swept the world. Cause and effect search. A red line appeared in the sky. Jian Wushuang's eyes leaked killing intent, and he whispered, "Catch up." Following this line of cause and effect, the scope of the goal can be narrowed. The two walked all the way in the direction of the southwest border, hiding their breath on the way, avoiding the grass and the snake. Those strong men in the human world are not going to have a good time these days. If they breathe out at this time, they may cause unnecessary trouble. I don't worry about the other party daring to attack them. I'm afraid that something will happen. After flying for a few days, the line of cause and effect became thinner and thinner, and it disappeared completely before reaching an oasis that was about to dry up. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo both suppressed their breath to the lowest level, and now they are no different from ordinary people. It's here. Jian Wushuang glanced away, and every mundane face below appeared in his mind. Whether it's an old man or a child or some women, their faces and their bodies have been checked one by one. There is no cover. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly and said in surprise, "No, he has the power of life, and none of the lives around here can escape his magic eye. Even if Jiang Shang's strength is so powerful that he can severely injure Long Yi, he will not escape his eyes. Since the line of cause and effect stays here, it means that Hui Qing is here. Still have to look deeper." Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo both disguised themselves as master and servant and entered the town. They didn't ask around. Everything went against their wishes. I first went to find an inn and stayed in. Then every day I ordered 2 liang of soju and a plate of peanuts at the table downstairs near the window and waited quietly. Compared with the time spent searching around, wasting a few days is nothing. This inn is mainly aimed at the mundane of this small town, usually rarely comes to outsiders. Every 10 days at noon, there are some foot power or ordinary people who carry water to the inn to settle down for dinner. Jian Wushuang raised his ears every time, listening to them talk about some trivial things, seeking to find out Jiang Shang's whereabouts. Unfortunately, after living for more than half a month, there is still no news. This method used to be quite easy to use, but it doesn't work anymore. It is estimated that Jiang Shang was really hidden in a cave or underground river, and he would not come out at all. If this is the case, don't blame him for his cruelty and turn this land into rubble. Even if he digs 3 feet, he must be found out. When this idea first appeared, I didn't know whether it was the common luck here or Jian Wushuang's own luck. It really made him hear something. It was probably related to Jiang Shang. This person was mysterious, and according to the information he had when he came, he was not found at all. There were less than 1,000 people in the town. When he came, he glanced at them and touched their faces, and even some memories. I read everyone's name, age, and memories since birth without any influence from the mysterious person. This method is not ordinary. If he hadn't heard someone talking, he wouldn't know the other person's name. A table near Jian Wushuang. A few burly men in disheveled clothes were drinking, but sitting on the same table was a young man who was incompatible with their appearance and temperament. This person's name is Pan, and he is extraordinary, and his appearance is even more so than he can find a younger generation to compare with. Speaking of that mysterious person, is this Pan? And in Pan An's mouth, he called the mysterious person Gu Jiang, but in Pan An's memory, there is no trace. Chapter 5580, strange. It can erase the memory of the other party, and let the ordinary remember the name. This memory, I am afraid, is not erased but concealed. To cover his search, I am afraid that the opponent's strength is not weak. There are many ways to cover up. Some simple ones can be done by ordinary people, and even the emperor can hide it from the powerful. If he hadn't stayed here, he would have been fooled by the other party. Aunt Jiang, Jian Wushuang, shook the wine glass and inserted the other party's topic. Aunt Jiang from Xiangtai's mouth is really that amazing? Jian Wushuang asked, pretending to be disbelief. I just heard the other party talk about Jiang Gus's medical skills, which is better than ordinary people. Even the old man who is on the verge of the limit can pull the other person from the ghost gate. Pan looked at Jian Wushuang when he heard the questioning sound, turned his head to look at Jian Wushuang, and found that it was a strange face, so he changed his tone and said, "This man, he should be a foreigner." There are so many people in the small town. Some of them may not remember their names, but they are still somewhat familiar in appearance. Jian Wushuang nodded, and then leaked a curious but unbelievable expression. The Jianggu in the opponent's mouth is almost Jiangshang, but it is not easy to find the opponent's position. If someone can lead the way, then it's best. Also avoid killing in vain. Pan picked up a jug of wine and came directly to Jian Wufang, first with some politeness. Since turning into a traitor, Jian Wushuang naturally has his own set of rhetoric and just fooled around. Then Jian Wushuang began to compile some news about Jianggu. First, he questioned Jiang Gus's methods, and then he was surprised and confused. The mundane performance of a beginner in the world of practitioners is vividly displayed, and the words are sharp. Although Pan looked like a scholar, he was just looking like, after reading a private school for a few days as a child, he only knew a few simple words. Jian Wushuang said that he was a little anxious for a while. Seeing that the time has come, Jian Wushuang took the initiative and said, "Brother Pan, don't blame me for speaking directly. It is true that our family is specialized in medicinal materials business. The old gentleman in the drugstore I have dealt with since I was young, and I really didn't listen. Having said the kind of medical technique you mentioned, why don't you take me to visit one or two like this?" This. Pan and hesitated, and his face was a little ruddy. Jian double-sided color changed, and he was surprised. "What? Embarrassed Brother Pan. This is not an embarrassment. Then Brother Lao Pan will take me to take a look. If it is true, I will definitely open the family pharmacy here. Please, Jiang Gu, to sit down." Jian Wushuang directly got up and offered a reason that ordinary people could not refuse. The borders of West Desert are sparsely populated, and the sum is probably not as good as an ordinary country on the border. The sporadic mundanity is still far away. Living in one oasis, many systems are not complete. Small-scale towns, let alone medicine shops, don't even have a decent medical clinic. They use some for a long time, the means to analyze the condition of the disease and then collect materials on the spot. This has shortened the ordinary life expectancy here. Most people died in their 40s because of the wind and cold. If a drugstore was really opened here, it would benefit one party, and it would also allow some refugees to take root here and gather together. Although resources have become scarce, more water and food can be opened up. Therefore, for a common man, there is no reason to refuse this request. But what Jian Wushuang didn't expect was that the other party actually shook his head and refused. "I was so reckless just now. Although Jiang Gu's medical skills are brilliant, she is not a doctor." Jian Wushuang was not discouraged and continued to ask, "Then what does she do? It is enough for me to visit once." The other party has no memory of Aunt Jiang. Even if he controls the other party's body, he can't find the place where Aunt Jiang is hiding. He still needs Pan and to guide him. Pan gently turned the wine glass with one hand, turned his head, and looked at the red sun gradually falling outside the window. "She is very special. If it's okay, I don't want outsiders to disturb you." Snapped. Jian Wushuang smashed the wine glass in his hand, pulled Pan Anna's collar directly with his other hand, and said angrily, "You fool me." His patience is limited. If it doesn't work, he will block this place and refine the space directly without believing that he can't be found. If it hadn't been for the virtue of having a good life, he would have done it long ago when he was not very anxious. Since the other party refused to say and didn't want to take him there, he simply broke the jar and did it directly. Pan was also taken aback. How could Jian Wushuang, who was still gentle just now, shot him, and he felt that the hands holding his collar were like a pair of iron tongs, and he couldn't break free at all. The strong-footed men who had been drinking with him left and got up and surrounded Jian Wushuang. Although looking at the evil spirits, they didn't do anything but persuaded Jian Wushuang to have something to say. After all, they are all rough guys doing physical work. "Okanshu." CM Jian Wushuang slanted his eyes, glanced around, and said coldly, "I'll give you a chance who takes me to find Aunt Jiang. As long as I find it, each person will be rewarded with a piece of beast head gold and take you into the big city. This temptation is not small. A piece of beast gold can buy a yard in some mundane big cities around and marry 7 or 8 wives. And there is no shortage of water in the big city. Humph, you must be the villain mentioned by Aunt Jiang. Fortunately, I didn't take you there. A piece of animal head gold. I wanted to buy me." Pan was frightened, but some rough guys next to him hesitated. Seeing that there was a play, Jian Wushuang also let go of Pan and didn't pay attention to the other side, but his thought power was spreading and staring at the nearby space at all times. As long as there was a trace of breath leaking, he could be there instantly. Mo Luo stood by, always paying attention to everything in the nearby space. The third child, let's do it. Aunt Jiang saved your mother. Don't forget your origin. Kid. Jian Wushuang shook his head and didn't persuade him. He has no patience anymore. If there has been no news, that's all the opportunity presented to him now. There will be any kind of mercy. If he drags on, Jiang Shang's strength is restored, and he is no longer an opponent. When the time comes, let other people take action. I'm afraid Jinling will give up Huiqing. Let's do it. Jian Wushuang exploded directly into the air. Mo Luo also followed behind, and his hands had gathered qi, and a huge light cloud that covered the sky and sun was suspended in the sky. With just one thought, this place will surely turn into a huge space crack. Jian Wushuang attached his hands and stared at everything under him. Below, the ordinary people also found a vision of the sky, and they looked up. Among them is Pan and Chapter 5581. He stared at the huge fireball in the sky. His legs were frightened. And then, thinking of something, he rushed out of the restaurant and ran towards the depths of the oasis. Jian Wushuang naturally discovered this too, and stretched out his hand to signal Mo Luo to wait. An ordinary way of knowing practitioners. Pan and was going to deliver a letter to Aunt Jiang, but he didn't know that Aunt Jiang had abandoned them long ago and left when Jian Wushuang just arrived. Pan ANS speed is not slow. It can even be said to be a bit faster than a mortal's speed. It's just that he is anxious now and didn't find it. It was Jian Wushuang's little power of thought attached to him that made Pan ANS speed change so fast. In just a stick of incense, he ran into a pit formed by a sand nest and yelled desperately to get Jianggu to leave. But there was no response after shouting for a long time. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo came directly, and a wall of air directly pushed across the sand nest in front of them. The distance is so close, even if it is hidden in the deep space, it should be discovered. Not good. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily and quickly backed away. The next moment, the ground burst. Countless rays of light shot out. The huge force destroyed the sky and the earth, directly forming a whirlpool. Had it not been for Jian Wushuang's discovery early, I am afraid this time he would be seriously injured or even fall. After a huge force burst, this place was a dark and desolate void, regardless of heaven and earth. As for those common places, they didn't struggle at all and instantly turned into fly ash. Thanks Tusk, she hasn't gone far. According to this force, Jian Wushuang instantly discovered that 2 breaths not far from here were slowly moving. With the guidance of this power, Jian Wushuang directly chased after him without hesitation. The distance is not far. He and Mo Luo are very fast. Just getting closer, Jian Wushuang directly used a thought of the universe just to be on the safe side. The sky changed instantly. The sky that was already dark turned into a shining starry sky, and the stars flickered. Today's Yinyan universe is extremely wide, twice the size of Desiyu, comparable to the big world of the Tongtian Buddha realm. There was a fluke in Jiangshang, but he instantly realized something was wrong and wanted to use his best to escape, but found that he couldn't get out at all. Jian Wushuang put a hand on Mo Luo's shoulder, and a flashing body appeared directly in front of Jiangshang. There was a huge sound, and the war was about to start. The corners of Mo Luo's eyes were beating. It was really Jian Wushuang's methods that were too unbelievable. When I thought of the universe, he had seen it, but the last time Jian Wushuang was attacked by a group, he didn't feel too much oppression. Now, when I look at it again, he feels that this universe is out of the secret realm of the human world. This belongs to the sword. Unparalleled dojo. A movable dojo. It would be extremely terrifying. Jian Wushuang bowed his head and looked forward, staring at Jiang Shang, leaking a smile. According to seniority, the other party is still his nephew. Such a lovely little niece. If she is of average strength, she should be so good, and she doesn't need to be treated with such a big fanfare. Unfortunately, compared with his face, Jiang Shang's face was harsh and resentful. She carried a huge coffin on her back, and the one in it was probably the sleeping Hui Qing. Little niece, why bother? Jian Wushuang shook his head. People are stuck here, so he naturally doesn't panic at all. The main thing is to give Hui Qing face. Jiang Shang didn't take it seriously, and he burst out with a breath that was not weak, which made Jian Wushuang's brows freeze, and his heart was a little unstable. His current strength can be comparable to the top of Tier 6, and even rivals the peak emperor of Tier 6, but he still doesn't have any confidence in the face of absolute peak. Fortunately, there is also a Mo Luo who is extremely powerful in the extreme. Jian Wushuang, even you have to deal with my master. Jiang Shang also noticed that the old man standing beside Jian Wushuang was extraordinary. He didn't rush to do it. Instead, he questioned Jian Wushuang's life and death brothers. She knew that the relationship between Master Hui Qing and Jian Wushuang was unusual. Otherwise, she would have told the bottom of her heart a long time ago, and even went to kill Jian Wushuang herself. She hasn't forgotten her brother's death. Jian Wushuang rubbed his eyebrows, his eyes changed, and he stared at Jiang Shang and said, "I have to do it as a last resort, and I hope to forgive me." In fact, this matter has nothing to do with Hui Qing himself. As long as Jiang Shang is killed, everything can be resolved. But you can't say it directly. This will make people say that he is in danger. And I am afraid that Hui Qing will need to settle accounts with him when she wakes up. Although he is not that good, he still doesn't have this kind of villainous heart. He didn't even bother to ask Jiang Shang to use such a despicable method as a rat avoidance device. Haha, Jiang Shang smiled up to the sky, and after hearing Jian Wushuang's words, the killing intent in his eyes rose again. It's a last resort. Fortunately, you are a villain. It's a shame to kill. Jiang Shang's voice fell. His complexion suddenly changed, and the universe began to boil at the thought. After feeling the terrifying aura, Jian Wushuang quickly backed away, and Mo Luo naturally blocked him in front. The demon flames on Mo Luo are overwhelming. With the blessing of the universe, I am afraid that the current strength is not weaker than the 3 palace masters of the Elder Palace. Feel your breath is stronger than before, and Mo Luo is also very happy, especially when he feels that even the power of all things is helping him. He roars, and his aura skyrocketed again. Let's do it. Jian Wushan sank, and directly ordered Mo Luo to do it. He had to see how strong Jiang Shang could be when he was injured. From the perspective of his aura alone, Jiang Shang was only a first-timer, and with the suppression of Yin Yan Universe, the gap between him and Ma Luo was even greater. But he didn't dare to underestimate Jiang Shang. After all, he was able to defeat and seriously injured Long Yi's existence. Maybe he could explode, some means to give them both seconds. Can't be careless. At the same time, he also sent a voice message to Mo Luo, a quick fight and a quick decision. Must be fast. Mo Luo nodded. Although he didn't know the opponent's true strength from the appearance of his aura alone, he was a lot behind him, and he was very confident in his heart, especially when his strength skyrocketed. Why, don't you dare to end in person? Jiang Shang's words were provocative. Jian Wushuang was not fooled by this and said indifferently, "What are you waiting for? Let's do it!" Boom! Strong waves of air dispersed, and the two had already handed over. Mo Luo's aura is real, and it is indeed much stronger than Jiang Shang, but Jiang Shang's aura is concealed. Although the two fight fast, no one can beat Jian Wushuang faster than Jian Wushuang in the universe of one mind. He could see clearly that when fighting against Mo Luo, Jiang Shang was not weak at all, but his breath was a little unstable because of his injury. It's a bit cunning. Jian Wushuang smiled secretly in his heart. The difference in thought at the beginning has led to such a scourge. If you really want the other party to grow to an uncontrollable level, he will really be over. Had it not been arranged by the real spirit in advance, I'm afraid he would be finished now. Chapter 55-82. Fortunately, after being seriously injured, Huiqing fell asleep. So he had no scruples, otherwise it would be really hard to deal with. Even if it is now, even if Jiang Shang is really taken, he will not do it himself, but hand it over to the real spirit. He doesn't remember this pot. Let the true spirit kill it, or find someone else to do it, and it's a big deal to push it to other people. In this way, Huiqing will not leave the temple of Qishan, nor will he resent him. At the beginning, Huiqing was still a little novice, but now she's an absolute powerhouse. Time. So fast. Jian Wushuang not only sighed. As for the battle between the two, they didn't care much. Jiang Shang's breath is getting weaker and weaker, and Mo Luo will win at any time. If he makes a move at this time, he can take Jiang Shang directly, but he has some scruples in his heart. Song. The coffin behind Jiang Shang began to sway, and strands of black arrogance emerged from it. As soon as the aura appeared, Jian Wushuang's brows were slightly frowned, and then his complexion changed drastically. Stay back. Before he could stop, he shouted angrily. He thought it contained the sleeping Huiqing, but as soon as the aura inside was exposed, he realized that it was not Huiqing, but a force that was diametrically opposed to his life force. Life. Death. In other words, it is a force of extinction. The same is the result of the power of all things. People are two-sided, let alone everything. With the power of life, there is the power of death. That is the dark side of everything. Never imagined that Jiang Shang had this ability, but the real spirit didn't tell him that Jiang Shang still had this power. Not only him, even Zhen Ling himself didn't think of it. Just because Yinyan universe blocked this place. Even if the true spirit controlled the four secret realms, it did not find the power of death. As soon as that power leaked, Mo Luo felt a huge threat. After hearing Jian Wushuang's reminder, he quickly stepped back, but there was still a trace of death power contaminating his body. Mo Luo's complexion, which had been tainted with the power of death, changed drastically, and his pupils were shrinking. First, his body was burned, and a large area died. The divine body was constantly cracked, and the origin was withering. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang found out in time that, far away, a force of life exploded, directly forcing the power of extinction in Mo Luo's body. Although there is only a trace, it consumes 20% of Jian Wushuang's own life force. Although it can be quickly replenished, but on the battlefield, it changes rapidly. Even if the replenishment time is a breath, it may fall before it is too late. Pay attention to that power. I will cooperate with you and take her down as soon as possible. Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice. He didn't dare to delay it. This force is terrible. Although the force of life and the force of extinction restrained each other, the level of power in the coffin was obviously much higher than his. He is just a Taoist now, and the life force he manipulates is still not pure enough. At least it hasn't reached the point of creating a special life out of thin air. A special life is a life that is born against the sky from the power of all things accumulated in some cosmic secrets into the power of life. Jian Wushuang mastered the power of life, so he could naturally create a special life, but the power of life he manipulated was still too weak. After he breaks through and becomes the emperor, I am afraid he will be able to create a special life. Jia Jia. The weird laughter makes people shudder. No wonder you are so calm. You still have a backhand. Jian Wushuang sneered. Jiang Shang's complexion didn't know what was going on, and it was a bit embarrassing. She turned to look at the coffin behind her, frowning. She also understood the power just now, and suddenly yelled, "I want you to die!" Jiang Shang broke out completely. His hair fluttered, his aura suddenly increased to an unprecedented level, and Jian Wushuang's universe of one thought was shattered. The huge backlash made Jian Wushuang seriously injured directly. A mouthful of blood spurted from his mouth, and his body expanded, and then suddenly contracted. The divine body also burst down. The life force in the body continued to feed back, and he was relieved. On the other hand, what Jiang Shang just said was obviously not addressed to them. The swaying coffin was torn apart by Jiang Shang, and the force of death in it was released. The thick, billowing fog fell away. Without a thought of the universe's blessing, Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo's strength dropped a lot, and their actions were much slower. Fortunately, Mo Luo reacted fast enough and pulled him back. "What is inside?" Jian Wushuang turned his head and asked Jiang Shang, who had escaped from the thick fog with them. Jiang Shang's complexion was embarrassing and anxious. He gritted his teeth and said, "You didn't force it." It turned out that when she left with her master Hui Qing, she met a mysterious strong man who was willing to help her quickly restore Hui Qing's origin, and gave her a black seed and the coffin. She didn't believe it at first, but she couldn't help it. She couldn't let the master sleep all the time. She dared to put Hui Qing in after she tried it once. I didn't expect it to be like this. In that seed, there is actually the power of death. The power in the coffin is even more special, and it can continue to nurture the power of death. After Jian Wushuang knew the reason, he cursed in his heart. "Okanshu." Calm, he thought that Hui Qing was not inside, so he made a circle and really lay there. A trace of thought power containing the power of life entered the thick fog, but there was no breath of Hui Qing. "No, it's falling." Jian Wushuang was completely dumbfounded. "Hui Qingjin is going to fall. He is the first to kill Jiang Shang. He is my master, and I will save him. You don't need to be hypocritical here." Jiang Shang said angrily. In her opinion, Qishan Temple had to act on her and master for some reason, and now Jian Wushuang had chased him here again, which made her wonder if Jian Wushuang had moved his hands and feet behind him. Jian was double-faced color gradually sank, and he thought of the scene in a daze. The masters of the little novices fell one by one, as if they had carried a child who had fallen into the water to the shore. All of them fell, replacing Hui Qing and him. In the end, I finally set foot on the road of spiritual practice. Although the journey was a little smooth, it was not easy. But now it is very likely to fall. How can Jian Wushuang's heart not shake? Turning his head to look at Jiang Shang, Jian Wushuang no longer concealed it and said in a cold voice, "Do you know that Hui Qing abandoned the cultivation of the temple of Qishan for you and sacrificed his own life? All this is for you, not worth it." There was a tremor in the sea of Jian Wushuang's origin, unexpectedly rising a hot force. That is causal killing. Causality is concrete. This means that the power of cause and effect has reached its limit. The cause and effect increased again. Had it not been for him to worship Jiang Shang's brother, Hui Qing would not have met Jiang Shang, and would not have today. Both of them have great cause and effect with him. Makes that culpa in his body stronger. Jiang Shang was stunned when he heard what he said. Then he couldn't believe it. His pupils dilated and questioned, "Aren't you going to kill me?" Chapter 55, 83. If I wanted you to die, you would have died 100 times. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Killing a commonplace. He doesn't have enough. At the beginning, the breath was very tightly hidden, and he could do it when he saw the other party for the first time. But because of Hui Qing, he didn't make a move. As for right or wrong, was it his fault? If there is really right and wrong, then the origin of the universe, the origin of time and space, and even the infinite starry sky are all wrong. Why should such a powerful life be bred? Wouldn't it be better for everyone to be the same? Does he want to sacrifice to those commonplaces? It is not the guidance of the gods. He can only do that to survive, help the White King to restore his peak, and finally fell into the trap of the gods and revived Fuego, so that now they are all out of the temple of Qixin, saying that all this has no meaning. In the cruel world, every weak person is sad. The compassion has long been exhausted. So Jian Wushuang wants to strengthen himself, which is why every practitioner pursues the path of the strong. This world is unfair, so I want to be strong. If you have been practicing for such a long time and you haven't even been able to figure out this truth, then don't practice, just wait for death. Everything follows the highest rules. Hui Qing's character still has too little experience, perhaps because he was born in this world by mistake. If he is in a certain paradise, it's best to be immortal for a lifetime. Song. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and pulled out the Jueyun sword behind him. Everything is so random and silent, but the origin of the kendo in the body has undergone a qualitative change at this moment. With the long sword drawn out, Jianming cut through the silent space. The thick, billowing fog broke away immediately. The seemingly unremarkable sword, but a universe made of swords burst out. This sword, sent with feelings. It was exactly the sword Jian Wushuang wanted very much to develop. It didn't contain any secrets, but it exploded with his strongest strength at the moment. One sword can cut the summit. After the breakthrough of the 9th level of ultimate swordsmanship, he continued to improve, and he did not have time to create his own pinnacle swordsmanship. Now, it seems that he has already made a sword and has a pinnacle swordsmanship. The huge sword intent slowly split into the thick fog. Wherever it passed, the thick fog dissipated and turned into a line, or it turned the thick fog into a picture. The thick fog that had risen for hundreds of millions of miles instantly turned into a paper-thin portrait. No force can stop where the long sword passes. The power of death will dissipate. Without a thought of the blockade of the universe, the moment this force exploded, it caused a shock in the human world. Some great bosses in the sacred mountain in the middle opened their eyes one after another. The mysterious powerhouse has appeared again. Quick, tell the temple, this power is not something we can stop. No, don't you tell the great master? The strongest person in the human world has plummeted in status after these mysterious strong shots, because every one of the most powerful people who appeared these few times was much stronger than the Great One. Whether it's Hui Qing, who just broke through, Jiang Shang, who broke out, or Long Yi, which one is not the half-hearted man who slays the 4 great secret realms. Not only the human world shook, even the real spirit's eyes widened. It was shocking enough that he had discovered the power of death, and he was ready to end himself, because the power of death was of great importance. When Jian Wushuang mastered the power of life, he could sit back and watch, because it is a good thing to have the power of life. Although I have never heard of anyone who has the power of life, fortunately, it is his own people. Now that the power of death appears, even if it is in the hands of one's own people, it must be quickly eliminated. Xianyi's predictions were really terrible. In the future, there will be a peerless strong man who will destroy a long river of time and space. What can destroy the long river of time and space is the power of death. The long river of time and space where the Qixin Temple was located was because of the power of death. So stop. But before he could make a move, Jian Wushuang's sword just made him shine. One sword can turn the 9 layers of the universe into one layer, which is to press the space into a piece of paper. This kendo secret technique is even more miraculous than Jian Wushuang's life force. The power of life, although it has not been heard that anyone can control it, but it is everywhere, just in the hands of the rules. But the secret method that can completely crush the space into a piece of paper. Not only has he never seen it, he has never heard of it. For a while, I was stunned in place. Human world. Jian Wushuang himself was also very surprised. This sword sent out with feelings did not expect to be so powerful. The power of death is like a piece of paper. The sword intent continued to cleave, and the thick fog quickly disappeared. Before the fog completely disappeared, a figure leaked out of the dense fog. He has a slender figure, a round head, thick eyebrows, and a pair of eyes exuding death. The breeze was blowing his robe. Hui Qing. Jian Wushuang's eyes twitched, and he quickly put away the sword. Jian Ying disappeared completely in front of Hui Qing. Jiang Shang also saw Hui Qing. His expression wanted to step forward, but was stopped by Jian Wushuang. Now Hui Qing has undergone earth-shaking changes. Except for her appearance, her breath and strength are different. Jian Wushuang shook his head, calm whispered, "He is not Hui Qing." When the sword passed, he felt something was wrong. And when he realized that it was Hui Qing, he stopped. What if the opponent is just possessed? He didn't know how strong that sword was. He really wanted to cut Hui Qing. That would be a serious sin. In other words, he is not led by Hui Qing. Jian Wushuang explained. He knew that Hui Qing's power was the power of reincarnation transformed by divine power, not the power of death at all. Jiang Shang was a little anxious, deeply regretful, especially knowing that the master is not hesitating to be an enemy of Qishan Temple for him. Everything started because of her. In her body, the true spirit formed again, and she said very tired, "Master." The corners of Jiang Shang's eyes were moist. Gently comfort the original true spirit. At first she was nothing but commonplace, but a commonplace little girl who wanted to eat her meal, nothing unusual. Live a simple life with my brother. Everything is because of that sacrifice. The sacrifice caused his brother to fall, so she was reborn and embarked on the path of spiritual practice. Without her brother, Shifu Hui Qing is her relative. Now, the master Hui Qing is deeply asleep and is controlled by the power of death. The relatives around me, from the early death of my parents, the death of my brother, and the current crisis of the respected master. She felt helpless. The powerful aura on his body weakened again. Yuan Junling comforted. "Master, this is not your fault." Turning into a cat-like original spirit, he gently arched Jiang Shang's ankle with his head. Compared with Jiang Shang, Jian Wushuang's fighting spirit rose. "Mo Luo, you retreat." This battle is a duel between the power of life and the power of death, and it has nothing to do with anyone. Chapter 55-84. He wanted to see how strong this power of death was, and that fighting intent continued to rise, from the fear at the beginning to the eagerness to try. This is the heart of the strong. Jian Wushuang has such a heart that can be fearless and unmatched. The surrounding sword intent turned into lightning and flashed around Jian Wushuang. After the change of breath, Hui Qing was accompanied by thick fog. The power of death is also present. Hui Qing didn't care about other people's meaning, but stared at Jian Wushuang and said, "Life force." Jian Wushuang nodded, and at the same time released the life force in his body. "Don't you ask who I am?" Hui Qing's tone changed after the change. He used to be peaceful, but now he is domineering. Jian Wushuang leaked a smile and said, "It's not necessary." In an instant, the two handed over in an instant. Flash punch, dodge, Draw your sword. Life and death were originally opposed. The breath of the two collided, and a countercurrent broke out. The force of the countercurrent was stronger than the sum of the power of the two, at least 10,000 times stronger. After the change, Hui Qing's strength was not as exaggerated as Jian Wushuang imagined. It should be the first to reach the highest level, but the other party's aura really continues to rise. On the contrary, Jian Wushuang himself slowly became a little dysfunctional. No way, Hui Qing's body was originally an emperor, and the difference was still a little bit worse. Even if Jian Wushuang's potential has exploded and can be comparable to the pinnacle for a while, it can't be sustained for too long. It seems that today I will use you to test how strong my sword is. Although Jian Wushuang's breath was declining and was suppressed by Hui Qing, his fighting spirit had not weakened. After testing out the opponent's strength, he really wanted to try which sword just now. Moreover, Zhang Ling had informed him secretly, so he could do anything at will. Hui Qing would not really fall. He had to cherish such an opponent before the real spirit had finished. I haven't given a name for this sword yet. Jian Wushuang took Hui Qing's punch and retreated thousands of miles. Fortunately, the current beasts have been thoroughly refined, and their defenses are extremely strong. When that punch came, the wings behind him directly wrapped his whole body, but a part of the power fell on him through the beast soldier, and that part of the power was directly dissolved by the powerful body. The divine body only slightly dropped by about 1,000 times, and then directly recovered to its peak. It seems that there is no threat, but if he dodges a little more slowly just now, I am afraid that the opponent will be able to blast 10,000 punches, or even 1,000,000 punches in the blink of an eye. His divine body can't recover so fast. I'm afraid it can defeat him in an instant. Hui Qing didn't chase. She stayed in place, moved her body she was not familiar with, and looked at Jian Wushuang and said, "The warm-up is over. To be honest, the sword just now was a bit interesting. If you don't keep your hand, I'm afraid I has fallen." He could feel that without mentioning Jian Wushuang, the current Hui Qing is stronger in Vietnam, and it is a bit like Change Dao, but not to mention the terror power of Change Dao, but is not familiar with Hui Qing's body now. As time goes by, I am afraid that Hui Qing's strength will be stronger. Since it's going to be true, you haven't said what it is called. Jian Wushuang looked at the other party and asked curiously, although it is not clear who the mysterious strong man who came into contact with Jiangshang was, the other party dared to directly calculate the inheritor. This is a felony. If discovered, it may not be possible to escape death. When the gods dared to do this, it was because of the background and strength and wisdom. He was curious who was behind him, who was so courageous. Just send away the gods. Another one who is not afraid of death comes. The most coincidental thing is that they were all touched by him. Only this time the opponent found Hui Qing and finally got rid of the identity of the chess piece. This seat extinction. Hui Qing calmly said the name. Jian Wushuang didn't expect to be so direct. Before he smiled from the bottom of his heart, he was dispelled by the next sentence. Forgot to tell you, you don't have to wait for the true spirit of the Temple of Qi. My deity personally intercepts. He can't get there. Mieshing sneered. Who are you? Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank a little, his voice trembling. Knowing the Temple of Qishan and the true spirit, I am afraid it is not a native. Could it be that? Jian Wushuang thought of Zhuang's appearance. I thought that the Frosa was gone, and the world would be peaceful, but as soon as the front foot left, another one came, and also holds the power of death. The deity intercepts. The sword has no double-sided color change, can stop the true spirit, and is the true spirit's deity, then the opponent's deity is also in the tribulation state, or is not weak in the true spirit's tribulation state powerhouse. Maybe it's better than the real spirit and stronger. The true spirit manipulates the origin of the Forbidden God Temple, and its strength can be skyrocketed. It's like the Lord of the Universe is in his dojo. I can't care about that much. Jian Wushuang must do it right away. The true spirit is his biggest hole card. It didn't matter at first because there is true spirit to give him the bottom. And now the true spirit is not coming, he dare not support it. Although you are anxious, you still need a name for this sword. Jian Wushuang began to gather sword intent, and the Jueyun sword behind him was pulled out again. In the past, the space was often cut, but now the space can be compressed into a piece of paper. This can be regarded as the prototype he prepared for the future cosmic secret law. Just call it Star Catalog. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily and opened up the sword again. Star Catalog. Sooner or later, he wants to make the entire starry sky tremble under this sword. Now, that Yijian compresses the nearby space. In the future, he will turn the universe into a picture with one sword. What a wonderful moment that must be, a portrait of the universe. Star Catalog, the first sword. In the ordinary, there is no fierceness. On the contrary, it is full of romance, and it has the meaning of a literati and a guest. Because jianing is very slow, it is more like a sword dancing. But it makes people a little desperate. Everything that jianing passed was transformed into a plane. Hui Qing, who was under the control of Mieshing, was also surprised. Jian Wushuang was not surprised that Jian Wushuang controlled the power of life, because he had expected it a long time ago. Tai Chi produces 2 instruments, which transforms into 4 images. It's all relative. If there is death, there must be life first. So when Jian Wushuang mastered the power of life, he appeared. But he didn't expect that after having mastered the power of life against the sky, Jian Wushuang would actually be able to create such a pinnacle and unique knowledge against the sky, which already had the embryonic form of the cosmic secret law. He really didn't dare to resist this sword. But when I was in front of me, it looked very slow, but it was actually blinking. This sword contains too many things. At least it contains space and time. If the tribulation realm display doesn't say anything, it's just a Taoist performing it. In fact, Jian Wushuang himself didn't know that his sword could contain time, but he obviously didn't feel the origin of time, or even the true meaning of time. Chapter 5585, Time. That represents the most powerful source. How could Jian Wushuang be a Taoist master? Even a super strong like Mo Luo couldn't feel the origin of time. Only when the space reaches the perfect state of the universe will you feel time, and the perfect consummate among the best, like Wuzhua, can be recognized by the origin of time. A sword floated. The world has slowed down, but it is consistent and irresistible. Mi Sheng's eyes were round, and one hand suddenly stretched out. Compared with Jianying, it seems to be fast, but there is nothing to do. The palm couldn't catch that sword shadow at all. Instead, his entire arm began to compress without any external damage. A round arm turned into a thin piece of paper. The extinction who wants to get out of it. Panic. How can you master the time? This is impossible. Mieshing couldn't believe it. The original plan was very good, with Jiangshang to attract Jian Wushuang to come. The deity is to stop the true spirit. His request is great. Although the force of death and the force of life restrain each other, they may be able to merge with each other. After the collision of the two, the force of death and the force of life merged. The power that burst out was incredible, and it was a breath that was stronger than any other force. If it can be integrated with Jian Wushuang, it will die with one hand and life with the other. I am afraid that the strength of the deity will soar to the extreme in an instant. Mastering these two forces will embark on a truly invincible road. What he never expected was that Jian Wushuang, in addition to mastering the power of life, could actually create such a powerful jerk. There is the true meaning of time in the jerk. This is already a move at the level of the cosmic secret law. Main idea? Maybe not. A Hui King's physical body from his arms to his whole body, and all the surrounding tens of thousands of miles, turned into a painting. That breath of death disappeared completely without leaving a trace. Before the avatar of Miexing died, although there was unwillingness in his eyes, there was also some madness. For him, the stronger Jian Wushuang is, the more excited he is. This time he was not prepared enough, but Jian Wushuang would not have such good luck next time. His deity can hold the true spirit in the Sea of Origin, and come and go freely. That is the deity with the combat power of the 6 calamities. Jian Wushuang, a small little Dao Jun, couldn't stop him. The breath of death has been shrouded in the 4 secret realms from now on. The Sea of Origin. The real spirit was furious, staring at the old man who was standing in front of a leaf boat. The corners of his eyes were beating constantly. "I know you." Zhen Ling pointed at the other person, with fear in his eyes. Extinction. At that time, Moroa was one of the 4 great 6 Tribulation Realm powerhouses, and he was the only 6 Tribulation Realm power who did not take refuge in the Temple of Qixin. In the ancient times, the opponent was extremely low-key, and eventually Morrow time and space were destroyed, and the opponent disappeared. I thought it was fallen, but I didn't expect to be alive, and he was in the Temple of Qixin. A 6 Tribulations realm sneaked into the Temple of Qixin. This is pretty good. Extinction and true spirit did not actually do anything, but opposed to each other. Different from the fear of the true spirit, there is only joking in Miexing's eyes. "You really let me down." Miexing stared at the true spirit and continued, "Jian Wushuang, I'm going to make a decision. Even if he is reborn, I can't keep him." I said, "This is not big talk, but real self-confidence." The true spirit stared at Daisheng and said coldly, "I'm afraid your appetite is too big to eat him." These words made Miexing stunned. His eyes shrank slightly, and he said in amazement, "You seem to know something you shouldn't know." "Ha! The combination of death and life. What's hard to guess?" Zhenling smiled, awkwardly. Clumsy acting skills cannot be concealed in the face of extinction. Miexing kept staring at the true spirit. Then his complexion faded slightly. The Bianzhou turned into a broken ancient ship and began to retreat slowly, leaving a sentence before disappearing. "Since I know, I shouldn't interfere in this matter. Don't forget, the purpose of the Temple of Qixin is for the rebirth of the gods. Who is born and who is dead?" Zhen Ling said, as if he was the deity. In his spiritual consciousness, there is only one explanation, and that is to revitalize the brilliance of the Temple of Qi in ancient times and nothing else. After disappearing and retreating, Zhen Ling breathed a sigh of relief. His face was extremely solemn, and he tore open the space directly to the human world. The war in the human world has just ended. Hui Qing has made a portrait, and the portrait is full of martial arts. It's a pity that it's always frozen at this moment. Jian Wushuang looked down at the portrait floating in the void. He pointed it out and turned into a sharp blade to instantly cut out Hui Qing's portrait. The rest of the desert turned into a portrait, was swept away by the fierce sword gas, and turned into dust, as if it had never appeared here. Jiang Shang looked anxious and wanted to rush up, but Mo Luo stopped his way, carefully put away the portrait of Hui Qing, and found that he couldn't put the mustard seeds, which proved that Hui Qing still saved. Jian Wushuang finally breathed a sigh of relief. If this really cuts Hui Qing off, he won't be able to be a man anymore. Not only wanted to kill his apprentice, but Hui Qing himself was also beheaded. He's not dead, Jian Wushuang turned his head to look at Jiang Shang, knowing that the true spirit would be here soon, and he seemed very calm. Jiang Shang's breath was unstable, and the strength he had just exploded was indeed very strong, but now it has fallen again. The same is true of his own aura. The complete sword just now almost exhausted the origin of kendo. It also takes a while for the power of life to be transformed into the power of all things. This sword is his strongest sword so far, and it is also the strongest genius. He can stand in the midst of the top. It would be wrong to be able to display it. He didn't expect to be able to cut out 1,000,000 swords at a single breath, just like other moves. It is estimated that after he arrives at the Emperor, it is very difficult to do it. If he really wants to reach that level, I'm afraid he will be truly invincible in the extreme. Nowadays, a sword can seal a powerful person who has just reached the top. Even Mo Luo may not be able to block this sword. He can indeed stand tall. It's a pity that it is too single, and only this sword can threaten the absolute top. Wow. The true spirit deity descended in person. The horror aura spread. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo hurriedly bowed to meet. Jiang Shang had seen a clone of the true spirit. Knowing the identity of the opponent, she faced several hunts and killings. She was already full of hostility towards the true spirit. At first she thought it was Jian Wushuang doing his hands and feet behind her back, but now that she knew it was the true spirit, she was relieved. If it is really because of her that affects Master Huiqing, then give this life to the other party. Thanks, it's really wonderful. Zhen Ling pressed his hand, motioned Jian Wushuang and others to get up, and walked directly in front of Jiang Shang. Jiang Shang bowed her head and clenched her fists. Even if she broke out again in the face of the true spirit, she would have no chance of winning. Facing the true spirit, she had no choice but to be slaughtered by others. This situation caused the origin in her body to change again. Chapter 55-86. Let's go. The originally relaxed true spirit suddenly became nervous for some reason and frowned. A thought of death turned into a figure. It was the deity who died out. He stood on the simple ancient ship, grabbed Jiang Shang's figure directly with a virtual grip, and entered the ancient ship, glanced at the crowd, and said to Jian Wushuang, "Little guy, don't worry, we will meet again." Jian Wushuang looked up, his eyes burst with blood lines, and the terrifying force of death suppressed the life force in his body. If the one who had just met was the extinct deity, he might have fallen by now. Destroying. Zhenling also gritted his teeth. The temple of Qixin has begun to split unconsciously. Miexing not only took away Jiang Shang, but also rescued the Lord Shan, the gore fiend in Mayan Mountain, and the 10,000 demons in Shuamu Hall from the second prison. The great Tao of swallowing turned into the 3 true monarchs. The first true monarch was that the mountain monarch was broken and turned into 10,000 demons, blood demons, wind demons, and heart demons. The second true monarch was suppressed in the original universe, and now he is about to leave. The third true monarch, the ancient monarch in purgatory, is now devouring the powerhouse of the robbery in purgatory. Extinction looking for these people. I am afraid that the request is great. Jian Wushuang was a little anxious in his heart. He was stared at by such a big man. What else would he do in the future? You don't have to worry. The sky is falling, and I am holding it. The true spirit soothed, and then said, "Now you have to hurry up and work together. The 4 secret realms are temporarily safe, and there are no accidents. You can rest assured about this." Yes. Jian Wushuang heard the assurance of the true spirit, but he couldn't believe it completely. That was what he said last time, but he still fell into the hands of the Frosa. Zhen Ling glanced at Jian Wushuang again, and now he had some guesses in his heart. The original prediction of the starry sky mighty person was likely to be extinction, not the inheritor at all. Extinction masters the power of death. And if you want to reach the top, I am afraid it will really destroy a long river of time and space. But why in the prediction, Daisheng is a person from the Temple of Qixin? This makes Xunling a little ignorant. Now that the other party had taken away the mountain monarch, 10,000 demons and blood demons, he had a vague answer in his heart. It may not be long before this answer will not be vague. In the past, the death of life was suppressed by the gods, so he dared not to cross the seventh calamity. And now the two of them are likely to have some kind of agreement. Those devouring avenues that he hated were high hopes. At the end of his life, he actually became a pawn. The true spirit is not stupid. He understands everything with a slight calculation. At that time, the Qixin and Miexing reached a certain agreement. The devouring Tao was not abandoned because of the eighth calamity. At the beginning, the Qixin did not have the strength to go through the eighth calamity, but he was not willing to become a strong saber robbery. After that, let the devouring avenue break away and prepare for the back road. Leaving the Temple of Qixin also made two-handed preparations, with one hand preparing the inheritors to rebuild the Temple of Qixin, and with the other hand ordering them not to kill the devourers that were transformed by the devouring avenue as a means of recovery. The more I thought about it, the more annoying. Zhenling almost punched his chest. He is opposed to the deity's practice because the memory and consciousness left by the deity are all positive. At that time, the Qixin crossing tribulation did not succeed, not because of strength at all, but to protect Moruo's time and space. The reason for leaving the Qixin temple was to cultivate the inheritors, not for the sake of surviving. From decency, instantly transform into villain. No matter how thick Zenling's face is, he blushes a little at this time. There was no face to meet those inheritors. If that's the case, let's just bulk cargo. Seeing that Junling's face was wrong, Jian Wushuang was also very nervous and cautiously said, "My lord!" Hearing Jian Wushuang shouting to himself, the true spirit pretended to be calm, leaked a smile, and replied, "Okay, there are some things that you don't know too early. I have already driven the extinction out. You must practice hard." After speaking, it was like leaving directly, but was stopped by Jian Wushuang. Taking out the portrait that Hui Qing had turned into, Jian Wushuang pleaded, "My lord, Hui Qing is loyal to the Temple of Qixin. He doesn't know anything about Jiang Shang, and asks the Lord to save him. He made Hui Qing like this, but he didn't know the way to save him, so he could only ask the true spirit to do it himself. Leave it to me. I won't pursue it." Zhenling was also very generous. Compared with the threat of extinction, Jiang Shang's threat was far worse. And now that Jiang Shang has been taken away by Miexing, there is almost no threat to him after leaving the Temple of Qixin, and there is no need to bother about it. As Hui Qing is currently ranked among the top 3 inheritors of the Temple of Qixin, it is naturally impossible to give up. Even if Jian Wushuang didn't speak, he would help Hui Qing recover. It's just that he had a lot of thoughts just now, and he didn't think of it. "Thank you, sir." Jian Wushuang bowed, slightly towards the true spirit who had left. After sending away the true spirit, he and Mo Luo didn't have the need to stay here, and they were ready to leave the human realm for the realm immediately. Then, from the earth to the heavens, go to the Mahayana Lingshan to solve the cause and effect, and then go to ask for the Candle Dragon's heart, and it is almost complete. As for the 6th level of mental strength, it can't be met, and he didn't think about breaking through. The realm of space has now mastered 99% of the black hole, only a little bit away. If there is a chance, it will break through, and if there is no chance, it will be first to unite. Because this does not affect the process of his harmony. As long as the origins of Sword Dao and Ji Dao are consummated, it is enough. Anyway, his spatial realm is already in the dust of Dao Jun, and there is no need to reach the black hole realm. Hadao, to put it simpler, is to integrate Kendo and Jidao into the origin of space. Once it succeeds, the origin of space will skyrocket. The ordinary Taoist may have just touched the threshold of the origin of the space before he joined the Tao, and the space origin of the successful He Dao has skyrocketed, directly reaching the middle and even later stages of the star realm. That is, the second-order emperor to the third-order emperor. Among the inheritors, the Taoist monarchs who are more against the sky, they are in the star realm before they join the Tao, and they reach the consummation in the star realm directly after they join the Tao. After becoming an emperor, he has more mature use of the origin of space, and he can practice faster. And only those who can directly become a fourth-order emperor have the power to cultivate to the fifth-order emperor in a short time. It all depends on how powerful your Tao is. There are already a lot of things contained in the second-rank origin Tao. Under the premise of practicing space in advance, after combining Tao, you can become a third-order emperor and quickly enter a fourth-order emperor. Wan Dao Lu is a cultivation way of all things. It is obviously not realistic to cultivate all the ways to consummation. Jian Wushuang is too big to think about it. If you really want to cultivate all the ways of Wan Dao to consummation, it can already be comparable to his extreme way, but the great way can leap to master the power of life. And Wan Dao Lu can master the power of all things when you are fully cultivated. Chapter 55-87. In general, the ultimate power of Wan Dao Lu can master the power of all things when he is at the extreme peak and raise the space to the realm of the universe. Therefore, if you want to master the power of all things in the Taoist monarch, in addition to the extreme way, you are practicing Wan Dao Lu, cultivating all the ways to reach consummation, and then mastering the universe and space can master the power of all things. But at that level, mastering the power of all things is already a bit tasteless. The Tao sovereign who has mastered the universe is unprecedented, and he can directly beat the strongest, and it is useless to require the power of all things. Because the power of all things mastered by the Taoist is ultimately limited, not as strong as the emperor's master. This conjecture is valid, but I am afraid there is nothing that can be done. Since he understood the meaning of Hadao, Jian Wushuang has also thought about what would happen if he mastered 2 or even 3 ultimate ways. In fact, it doesn't matter if you think about it, not to mention whether you can realize so many ultimate ways. Even if you really realize it, it will be difficult for you to succeed in harmony. The reason why Wan Dao Lu can be spread and even pursued by many practitioners is that it has the exploration of predecessors and can be successful, not to mention the completeness of all, as long as several second-rank origins are concurrently studied and some common origins can be realized. As long as the harmony is successful, the realm of space can skyrocket. Space contains 10,000 ways, and 10,000 ways feed back to space. Jian Wushuang's own extreme way is a more perfect Wan Dao Lu. Ji Dao has perfected the 10,000 Dao, but in the end, only Kendo is the ultimate Dao. This also highlights his Kendo dominance even more. The power of that sword exceeded his imagination, but it met his expectations. That's how it should be, with Ji Dao as a supplement and Kendo as the main one, striking the universe, and even all the time and space. At this time, he was in a good mood, singing all the way straight to the temple where the human world was. After the two of them left, the absolute tops of the human world gathered together again and began to study the space that was crushed by his sword into a painting. A square black void, the entire 9 floors of the space, have been cut away. Only the general pitch-black void in the space turbulence is left. Everything has become nothingness. The few superpowers who watched swallowed their saliva and turned to look at the great human world. Everyone, we have to keep a low profile lately. I am afraid that our human realm will have a catastrophe. The great senior human realm's face sank, and he left after leaving a warning. The future of the human world is indeed a catastrophe, and it is a catastrophe left by Jian Wushuang himself. The young man named Xianzhou grew up to be a disaster for the human world. The headquarters of the Human World Temple, Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo arrived with fanfare, without any concealment. At this point, Jian Wushuang's breath now is also the sixth-tier pinnacle, and he has a unique skill that can cut the peak with a sword, and the demeanor of a strong man is at a glance. Mo Luo straightened up behind him and respectfully said, "Young Master's combat power is probably one of the best among the inheritors now, and if it is in harmony, it will be unmatched. Thanks, Tusk, isn't this not yet successful in harmony?" Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. He is indeed very confident now. As soon as Miexing appeared, he left, although he didn't know why. He left anyway. No matter how big the threat is, the real spirit should have a headache in the future. It has nothing to do with him. If he is time now, as long as the time is delayed, he will be stronger. Whenever the enemy is in front of him, it will be only an enemy of a sword. Ha! This time I was also exposed to the light of the young master. Normally, when I take this cross-border teleportation formation, I am troubled by the temple in every way. I want to come this time, and he will get. Mo Luo hasn't finished speaking yet. A team of emperors under the temple had already arrived in front of them. Seeing Jian Wushuang's unfamiliar faces with such a big fanfare, I was a little surprised. In the Tomb Mountain, there are direct inheritors, and it is impossible to appear in the human world. Unless you return to the Tomb Mountain, you will pass this place. But if you return, you won't come here from the secret realm of the human world, but will be passed on directly and will only stay for a while. Feeling that Mo Luo's origin was incomplete, the Sixth Order Emperor who took the lead sneered. "This is the temple who allowed you to fly." Jian Wushuang was stunned for a moment. These people didn't even know him. He just got off the wanted order. "It's too dull." "What are you looking at? Not convinced." The Sixth Order Emperor sank, staring at Jian Wushuang. He could feel a powerful aura from Jian Wushuang. That aura was extremely daunting. Only the Sixth Order peak. This kind of strength, although it is in a barren land like the human world, is not enough. Those who serve in the temple have long been used to being arrogant. Although they are also native emperors, they even look down on the native emperors like themselves. Mo Luo couldn't help it a bit, but the fear that the temple brought him was deeply rooted, and he really didn't dare to do it, even if he was already in a group now. "Blind your dog's eyes. See who I am." Jian Wushuang's eyes leaked a cold color. A violent breath rose instantly, and Yu Yu's shivering temple trembled. Although the human world is barren, this place is connected to the tomb of the gods. There must be a strong man in the White Tiger Palace sitting here. There should be more than one Sixth Order Emperor, as simple as that. The violent aura directly shook the Sixth Order Emperor and several Fifth Order Emperors thousands of miles away. Fortunately, they all wore the trial armor equipped with the temple. They were high eternal treasures, and they were not injured. However, the divine body has been somewhat broken, and its strength is declining. "How dare you do it?" The Sixth Order Emperor laughed furiously. He has been in the human world for many years. One who is not afraid of death. The token of the highest order was directly crushed at the moment to inform the situation of the human world. Jian Wushuang wanted to laugh, and the other party probably didn't know him. If you knew it was him, wouldn't you be so mindless to trouble him? He even suspected that the other party was really blind, so he could not see that he was the inheritor of the complete origin, so that he turned his head to look at Mo Luo, pointed to his face that didn't lose to Pan, and said from the bottom of his heart, "Am I a special one?" Mo Luo was stunned for a moment. Then, when he wanted to say something, he was stunned. In the temple at this time, the strong are all out, and there is also a super strong. However, the strength is average. It is estimated that they are not the opponent of Mo Luo. It was not these powerful men that Mo Luo was surprised, but Jian Wushuang that he saw. In the past, when I saw Jian Wushuang, I could tell at a glance that it was the complete source. Even if Jian Wushuang is now stronger and can conceal his aura, when the two of them first arrived, they did not conceal anything with fanfare. And Jian Wushuang just broke out aura. Can't the other party discover that Jian Wushuang is the inheritor? Chapter 5588. Is it really blind? Even if one is blind, there are so many fifth-order emperors. Isn't there a normal person? Only then did he understand that, for a moment, he didn't notice Jian Wushuang's change. Mo Luo stared at Jian Wushuang in his eyes, except for the fact that there was no change in his body. His breath and origin were returning. It was a rewinding of time, and he could see that it was because the realm was higher than those people. It is estimated that those sixth-order emperors and fifth-order emperors can only see Jian Wushuang for a short period of time, so they can't see anything. After Mo Luo found out, he quickly told Jian Wushuang about it. It was a big deal, and even Jian Wushuang hadn't noticed his changes. What? Jian Wushuang did not pay attention to the temple powerhouses who came around, but stared at Mo Luo with a huge change of expression, and then blew it out in one breath, turning into a law body, staring at himself for a circle. This made those temple powerhouses very surprised. The two who suddenly rushed in, a sixth-order emperor, were still strange faces. Which one of the most powerful people can tell that he is an aboriginal emperor? But Jian Wushuang is a bit incomprehensible, strong, and weak at the time. Even if it is a burst of breath, he did not feel the aura of the origin. There is only the violent power that is the power erupted by the divine body. The 50,000 times divine body can clearly feel that these people regard Jian Wushuang as special beings. Some special beings have inherited memories, and some relatively rare genres. They are not surprised, but Jian Wushuang himself had a big head. He was very surprised how his origin suddenly became like this. He obviously didn't feel anything, but he automatically changed. Time, only this is possible. Jian Wushuang then dissipated from the law bodies. This question would have to wait for him to find Wu Zuo in the heavens, or the demon god general to ask those big figures who had met the world. Fortunately, there is no harm, but time has interfered with others' viewing of his origin. This can also explain why the people in the temple can't recognize him. The original one was not a portrait, but a breath. The body can be changed at will, and the portrait is useless. Even the mundane assassins will be able to disguise, let alone Jian Wushuang, who has a perfect body and can transform into a Dharmakaya with a single hair in one breath. So these people did not recognize him. But this time all were dispatched, some of the emperors who were guarded from the heavens, and many of them knew his appearance and recognized them at once. Jian Wushuang. Yes, it is Jian Wushuang. An edge fourth-order emperor directly shouted out. Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief when someone recognized him. Otherwise, he would have to fight with these people. What he didn't expect was that these people became even more excited when they knew his identity. Jian Wushuang, I didn't expect you to dare to show your head. Don't you know that the 4 secret realms are looking for you now? Stay here today. The leader who took the lead sneered, and then a token appeared in his hand, flashing above it. With red light, a majestic force broke out in an instant, and the sword's double-sided color changed drastically, and he quickly pulled Mo Luo back, and at the same time shouted angrily, "You idiots!" The temple array was completely opened, and there was no way to retreat. This formation is to suppress those terrifying special lives from the tomb of the gods, and its power is extremely terrifying. He never expected that he would not fall into the hands of others and finally fall into his own hands. It's simply unlucky to get home. At the moment before the formation was opened, Inyen universe broke out first. This kind of formation is okay with the heavy and special beings of the opponent, and in front of him, it is still not enough. One thought of the universe. Jian Wushuang's speed did not become faster, but those people's speed became slower because of the true meaning of time. He has not yet received the recognition of the origin of time. He has just pondered the true meaning of time slightly. If he has the origin of time, he can pause this space with a single thought. This is the power of the robbery realm, and dealing with those emperors is simply a massacre. I really don't know how the great emperor Jueyun did it, so against the sky. Now he can only delay time, but it's enough. In his own universe, he teleports directly, and when he reaches the top, he snatches the token in the other's surprised eyes. Click! The token manipulating the formation was directly crushed by him, and the other hand was not idle. The backhand was a slap, and the extremely strong man abruptly slammed into the ground from the sky and lifted up huge dust. Seal them all. Don't keep any of them. Jian Wushuang carried his hands on his back and directly let Mo Luo do it. The reason why it was able to go so smoothly was that the absolute top was too careless and his strength was not very good, but he was not so easy to succeed with any strong absolute power. After Mo Luo received the order, the corners of his mouth raised and beat the emperor of the temple, which was a very wonderful thing. He has long been uncomfortable with these two dogs who will only show off in front of the indigenous emperors, treats the inheritors only in promises, and treats the indigenous emperors, one by one, arrogant. Now, they've violently beaten them one by one, and then threw the one-handed seal below. When the supremely strong man wanted to make a move, he found that his strength had dropped suddenly in Nien universe. He was not Mo Luo's opponent at all, and his strength was sealed within a few seconds. He unwillingly shouted angrily, "Jian Wushuang, you are provoking the temple. The Lord will not let you go. You will wait for me." Jian Wushuang played with the discord board on his thumb. When he turned his head, he stared at that Zhu Jian with stern eyes. His figure slowly descended, and he walked towards the teleportation formation and said calmly, "I'm waiting for you." There are not many strong people here, and Mo Luo will solve them all in 3 or 2. If you don't kill these people, you still give Bai Yi's face. Based on the offense, just now, he even killed Bai Yi and didn't dare to do anything with him. Want to move him? Jian Wushuang now is not the former Taoist who was free to handle. Moreover, he is still leaning against the Senate Palace. If the White Tiger Palace dares to make a move, the Senate Palace will stop him. He had already told Wu Zuo what was happening here, and let the other party prepare to meet him in the realm. Last time the two met in a hurry, many important things were not said. For example, some promised benefits. The origin of everything should also be in his hands. This time, he has made great achievements, and I am afraid he can call the wind and rain in the 4 secret realms. He didn't worry about going to the Tomb Mountain. After entering the big formation, he randomly threw a huge cosmic crystal and directly activated the formation. Mo Luo looked at his eyes hot. 4 cross-border teleportation. All that is needed every time is the crystal, and the price to be paid is extremely high. Generally, several people are teleported together. There are very few rich and powerful like Jian Wushuang. Chapter 55, 89. At the beginning, Tyson had only accumulated 30,000 cosmic crystals after sitting in Fushaotang for so many years, not to mention the native monarchs like Mo Luo. It is estimated that 5,000 cosmic crystals of all the belongings are not bad. That's why I was so surprised. What is this thing? Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had a whole source of everything at his fingertips. This time when he returned to the Senate Palace, he had the lion open his mouth, asking for more treasures. Most of the treasures accumulated at the time were used to restore fuego. There is no way to survive. I can only do it desperately. Fortunately, they were sent away, and also got a token of the giant gods. With this token, it is also useful to roam in other time and space in the future. If you really meet the giants of the giant gods, there might be a chance, which is much more useful than those treasures. This is the pattern. Don't be reluctant. How can you be rewarded if reluctant? The teleportation array was triggered, and the light and shadow in front of him changed. What he saw in the past was colored, but now he has the true meaning of time. But he can see that the teleportation still has the origin of time. Cross-boundary teleportation is too far away, and it will take 10,000 years for a light to reach another world. But it can be teleported in an instant. This is a shortening of time, and pure space movement is not so fast. The speed of the two of them in the human world by flying alone is no longer slow. For hundreds of years, the opportunity traverses the human world. But if you want to fly to the land boundary, not to mention whether there is a passage, even if there is a passage, I am afraid it will take hundreds of millions of years. All the spaces in the Chichen Temple are superimposed, which is larger than the universe. The four secret realms seem to be together, but in fact, they are very far away from one universe. In the teleportation formation, it was an instant land boundary. At this time, in the Temple of Earth realm, there were 6 extremely strong people. Among them, there was a white body of law, and the strength was not weak enough to be comparable to that of the divine envoy. There are also 4 outstanding emperors who are indigenous emperors, who are the outstanding powers of the first family of the earth. There is another acquaintance of Jian Wushuang, Jian Wushuang, and Mo Luo appeared in the teleportation hall. Several Zhu Jian surrounded him in an instant, which made Mo Luo very nervous, especially when he saw Palace Master Bai Yi. A huge sense of threat made him a little breathless. Wu Zhuo is okay. He has been suppressing his breath. Brother Wu Shuang. Wu Zhuo stepped forward, leaking a smile. Jian Wushuang clasped his fist slightly and said, "Trouble." Then he looked at the Lord Bai and smiled lightly. "Oh, Lord Bai, this time I am offended." Naturally speaking, it is a matter of the human world, and to say so, it is only a sack of face. This matter is to blame. When I got the news from Lord True Spirit, I didn't disperse it in time, which caused those idiots to offend Brother Wu Shuang. Wu Zhuo next to him took the opportunity to sneer, and sarcastically said, Master True Spirit passed the news to the Yuan Lao Palace hundreds of years ago. You have dragged such a big thing to the present. Brother Wu Shuang is the biggest contributor to the 4 secret realms. Just treat it like this, and don't be afraid of chilling everyone's hearts. The last sentence was correct. He sent the gods away, but really helped the White Tiger Palace. Now, the battle situation in the realm has been slowly declining, and there are very few resistances. This is all Jian Wushuang's credit, and if the gods are still there, the aboriginal emperors might still resist. It's almost done. Dogs don't go to places like the human world, and it's normal for some news to be blocked. Bai Yi glared at Wu Zhuo. Jian Wushuang also hurriedly came out to make a round and said, "Well, you too am going to be the host today. Let's have a good drink. It's been a long time since I haven't been free, so it's just to celebrate for myself." After hearing his words, the two of them gave up. Since Jian Wushuang appeared, he had intentionally or unintentionally leaked his breath. When outsiders looked at him, it was time to rewind, which seemed very mysterious. Now, even Wu Zhuo and Bai Yi can't see through him. The pure appearance of the breath is the 6th order pinnacle, and suddenly it is a little unclear how strong Jian Wushuang is now. The group of people directly entered the largest city in the realm. In the magnificent hall, Jian Wushuang sat in the main seat, with Bai Yi and Wu Zuo on both sides. Both of them are the top bosses of the four secret realms. Bai Yi is even the actual power holder of the four secret realms, and it is Bai Yi that the natives fear the most. Now, Jian Wushuang not only sits on an equal footing with the opponent, but can also sit high in the main position. This kind of identity is somewhat beyond the object. However, Jian Wushuang now does have this confidence. Whether it is meritorious service or strength, he has already touched the peak of Qixin Temple. Eliminating the Frosa, this is the first-class merit. It is not too much to let Bai Yi knock him in public, let alone Wu Zuo. This plan was originally proposed by Wu Zuo. Although Wu Zuo did not achieve any benefits in the end, he was already very happy that Jian Wushuang could return safely. Otherwise, he would have to take the main responsibility. In the hall, there are 1/3 of the superpowers of the earth, Ukanshu. The weakest in calm are the fifth-order emperors, and all of them have more than 10. After the all parties touted it, it was a polite way. Jian Wushuang was able to let go this time, but privately he kept communicating with Wu Zuo. The iron sword thing, as soon as possible. He killed the other's younger brother. Naturally, this matter must be handled properly. You can't kill his younger brother. So let him be slaughtered again. So let Wu Zuo be an intermediary, and let the matter go. Naturally, there is no problem. There must be sacrifices. The key is how many times he has sacrificed himself, the life of a sixth-order emperor, changing the four great secret realms to a stable. This is a very worthwhile business. Wu Zuo also nodded and said, Master True Spirit has issued a dispatch order. The iron sword will go to the long river of time and space outside the primitive universe to guard it, and is responsible for transporting the elites plundered from the major universes. It is also a fat man. This is considered to be sent away without the real spirit's order. The long-wind sword god does not even have the qualifications to return to the Temple of Qi. As for the benefits, I am afraid there are not many. Changfeng's sword god's original strength was average and absolute peak, and it was not even as strong as the absolute strong among the aboriginals. It was a good thing to go to the long river of time and space. After a while, the strength of the inheritor completely exploded, and the position of his palace lord could not be kept. It's better to go to the long river of time and space to be a time and space overlord, and enjoy yourself. Now, the time and space Longhaju is very rare. There are only a few, and they have all been defeated one by Shang. Their strength is average. After all, there is no guidance. Although the spatial realm is high, the foundation is unstable. This kind of emptiness is so lazy to recruit. It is better to let some of the more powerful fifth-order emperors enter the Temple of Qixin. Of course, the emperors of the primordial universe were also stunned, and most of them had planned an errand in the Temple of Qixin, and now they are also enjoying themselves. Chapter 55-90. After chatting with Wu Zuo for a long time, the banquet almost came to an end. Just when Jian Wushuang was about to leave the realm with Wu Zuo to go to the heaven, Mo Luo sent a message. Great summer crisis. Jian was double-faced movement. De Xia merged into the chaotic domain that year, and with that chaotic domain's absolute top, there shouldn't be any chaos. Young master, something happened on Mo Luo's side too. Mo Luo continued with a voice transmission. It seems to be related to an inheritor. Broly, Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. He almost forgot this ruthless person. He heard that the opponent was already a 6-tier peak powerhouse, invincible in the land boundary, and even the top powerhouse was not his opponent. In Broly's hands, more than 3 outstanding players have fallen. This kind of terrifying record ranks first in the Tomb Mountain. It is this person who has turned the entire chaos upside down. Even if he is a strong man who promises to submit to the temple, he rarely lives in his hands. It is really ruthless. Jian Wushuang pondered for a while, and suddenly felt a headache. The people who have enemies with him are so perverted, one by one, strong and terrifying. Jiang Shang could seriously wound Long Yi in just a few million years. Now, there is another ruthless person that is the enemy of killing his father. No, Jian Wushuang shook his head, as if he was not the one who killed the man, but the man of the gods killed his father. Forget it. This matter will eventually be resolved. It is better to tell the other party about the gods. Mo Luo saw that something was wrong with Jian Wushuang, was silent for a while, and then asked, "Young master, I'm going to see this person." At the beginning, he pretended to be Daxia's ninth prince and told Mo Luo that's why he reminded him. "Now that you know, go and see." The banquet came to an end. Jian Wushuang took Mo Luo straight to Daxia in the teleportation array. For Daxia's memory, the trance seems to be yesterday. At the beginning, he was just as capable of a fourth-order emperor's combat power, but in a blink of an eye, he already has the ultimate combat power. Although a little single, it also has a record of beheading the top. Great Summer Palace. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo went directly to Daxiao Imperial City, and they smelled a smell as soon as they left the inheritor. The blood donated flowed along the bluestone floor into the White Tiger Branch Hall, which was the only one left in the Great Xia Imperial City. The one who sits here is a sixth-order emperor, because the emperor who sits here is generally a sixth-order emperor. Now that a large number of strong men return to the Temple of Earthrealm, there is no shortage of manpower. The sixth-order emperor had long received the notice from the main hall of the earth and personally greeted Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo. "Subordinate, Hikue, I have seen His Royal Highness Wushuang. Senior Mo Luo." Hikue knelt on one knee, very respectful. Jian Wushuang raised his head slightly to look at the blood-colored sky. He was able to dye such a solid space into blood, and I am afraid that there are at least millions of emperors who have fallen. Tell me about Daxia's situation. Hikue got up and told all about Daxia's situation in recent years without any details, even the rise and fall of some of Daxia's families. Daxia sent troops to defeat Mo Luo, and many elites fell. Although the reduction of the vassal was completed, it also hurt the vitality, and the Mo Luo state was extremely dominant, and Daxia had to merge into the chaotic realm. In fact, this is also a secret calculation in the land boundary. The chaotic realm at the time has actually been controlled, and the realm is a game of chess, which seems to be a battle between the temple and the aboriginal realm. In fact, the real spirit and the gods are playing against each other. In the end, neither of them can be regarded as losers. Only the strong of the realm suffers hardship. From the decline of the Xianyuan family back, then, one can see the cruelty of the land boundary. Xianyuan Dapan fell, and the morale of the Xianyuan family was greatly reduced. Even if there was a newly promoted fifth-order emperor, he was still suppressed. Even the cheap old lady Jian Wushuang, recognized at the beginning, was beaten into the cold palace, and Daxia had already done almost crazy about cutting the feudal clan. Behind this, the Old Horn Man was doing it. In fact, Xianyuan Dapan was able to fall, and it was enough to weaken his relatives, but in order to weaken the chaotic realm of confrontation with the temple, Daxia began a brutal gentry change. As a result, Daxia's national power became weaker and weaker, so that it took hundreds of years after the gods left to get a chance to breathe. At that time, the real spirit let some people's law bodies leave the realm. Without the Frosa, the native monarchs in the realm couldn't make any storms, and there was no need to bother to solve them. If this were not the case, the Temple of the Earth might be able to overwhelm the original opposition forces one-sidedly. You don't even need Broly's troubles. You can quickly take down the realm. Where is Broly now? Jian Wushuang asked. After Hikue heard Broly, his complexion changed, and the domineering figure appeared in his mind instantly, that strong sense of oppression, so that when he heard the name, his body was stiff. Master Broly, in Mora Kingdom. Jian Wushuang turned around to enter the teleportation formation again and said loudly, "Go to Mo Luo. There is nothing to remember here." Now Daxiao is left with ruined walls, and people who know are fleeing from death to death. It doesn't make sense to stay. It's better to go to Broly directly. After Mo Luo heard it, he quickly followed. He was even more anxious than Jian Wushuang. The Maluo kingdom was created by him alone, is now about to destroy the country. He must come forward to stop it. Fortunately, the descendant of the princess who rescued him back then is still alive. Jian Wushuang saw the other party's concern and said, "Why, there are still relatives that Mo Luo can't let go of. There are a few old people." Mo Luo nodded. The descendants left by the princess did need to make arrangements, but he had sworn to keep his bloodline. As for the rise and fall of the Mo Luo, he is now bearish, but those deceased should be able to bring them to the heavens. It just so happened that Jian Wushuang could use Mo Luo's hand to meet Broly. See if the other person is as scary as others say. It's only the peak of Tier 6. Even if it's a change of way, what's the matter? It is said that the grievances between the two began to end in the Shangqing Palace in the heavens. In order to save Broly, Wu's almost killed him. Later, I met Broly in the court of the Three Kings. At that time, the other party had already taken refuge in the main gate of Guiling Island. Every time I met, the opponent's progress did not lose him. This time, I can go to meet each other. See how strong the change is. He has obtained the inheritance of the first true king. Although the current Guantian chessboard is still a bit tasteless, it can only assist him in the speed of cultivation, and he has no time to study that game book. Only the emperor had time to study, and now I can't understand it. Two people send one after another. Once in the territory of Maluo, he flew at full speed. Mo Luo Imperial Capital. This place is much better than Daxia. At least there are places to go. This place is Mo Luo's chassis, which is more familiar than him. Maluo, after you became the best in the past, why didn't you build Maluo Nation into a force like Chaos Territory? Jian Wushuang asked with some curiosity. Chapter 5591. The current Mo Luo country has long since returned to the side of the temple. Without Mo Luo behind, the Mo Luo country is a piece of loose sand. Fortunately, Mo Luo left a lot of backhands at the time, and it can be dealt with one by one. Mo Luo said sadly, "The smaller the land boundary, the easier it is to protect. The chaotic realm is too eye-catching." Something makes sense. Jian Wushuang also agreed, and Xiaofu was at ease. Boom! A muffled thunder came from the west coast of Maluo, and the whole Tianen could hear it. This force is extremely violent, and the sweeping sea water is enough to destroy the world. Go and settle your deceased first. I can go alone. Jian Wushuang was very confident, and there were very few threats to him in the realm. It is very likely that Broly is ahead, and of course he wants to check it out. Originally thought Broly would be in Maluo's imperial capital. It seems that the other party's clearing speed is very fast. Now it has reached the West Sea. Mo Luo was a little worried. His current duty was to protect Jian Wushuang. How could he affect Jian Wushuang? Because of personal affairs. Besides, those deceased were fine, and Broly had obviously not done anything to them. As long as a Dharmakaya can be arranged properly, there is no need to stay. Seeing the opponent insisted, Jian Wushuang didn't say anything. After Mo Luo separated a clone, the two continued to move toward the place where the breath burst. The closer he got, Jian Wushuang felt an invisible sense of oppression. That kind of feeling, it was like an extremely terrifying beast was slaughtering wantonly. Did you feel it too? Jian Wushuang said in a low voice while looking ahead. Mo Luo's breath was low, and he replied, "It's like two wild beasts are fighting again." This is the way of change. Broly's opponent is a deep-sea wild beast, and it is an extremely powerful wild beast in the top. Jian Wushuang was very sure. The sea area where the Three Kings Court appeared was only the western outer ring. In the core sea area, there are real ancient wild beasts, much stronger than the stinky fish and shrimps of the master of the Turtle Spirit Island. Turtle Island masters are at best second-generation wild beasts, and their bloodlines are not pure, but with some inheritance from the Three Kings, they are probably not weaker than the wild beasts in the core sea area. The speed of the two skyrocketed again, and they couldn't wait. I want to see how powerful this Transfiguration Dao superpower is and can make so many people change their voices. After a stick of incense, they have been able to see the stretch of coastline. It's just that black clouds are over the sea, and the thunder keeps flashing. There are also two towering figures fighting fiercely. Every time the thunder flashes, two huge figures will be revealed. Jian Wushuang directly used the eyes of the beast and saw Broly at a glance. The huge figure did not change the opponent's appearance, especially the candle-like eyes and the naked upper body lines were extremely conspicuous. Broly, under his anger, was even more terrifying than he had imagined. His opponent is a wild beast who has lived in the deep sea for a long time. Octopus Beast King, a wild beast that can be called a beast king. It has the blood of a beast god. The strength can be comparable to that of a special life. This kind of desolate beast is more terrifying than the special life, because the special life has no origin, but the desolate beast has its origin. The body of the wild beast is already powerful, and although the divine body is not comparable to the special life, it is much stronger than the cultivator. Compared with the special life, the original source of the desolate beast is stronger. Compared with the practitioner, both the flesh and the divine body are stronger than the practitioner. This is the level of life. The forces on both sides of the war were extremely violent. The 8 giant claws of the desolate beast emperor entangled Broly tightly. Mo Luo was a little flustered when he watched from the side. "Young master, this desolate beast is very strong. Even I can't guarantee that I can beat it." Broly kicked the iron this time. I thought that Broly was so powerful, but I saw that it was actually that way. But Jian Wushuang knows that Broly is stronger in Vietnam and changes everything according to the opponent's strength. Let's go and take a look. Jian Wushuang's figure flashed, and he went directly to the west coast. There are also many strong people here at this time. Among them, only a few strong people are from the temple, and many emperors are preparing to join the temple. Among them are quite a few acquaintances. Standing in the first place was the Turtle Island master. It seemed that his current strength had broken through. Although he was not at the top, he almost stepped in with one foot. Because of Broly's relationship, the status of the Turtle Island owner is now very high. Broly was still a disciple of Guiling Island. Today's Broly chicken has turned into a phoenix. Not only has it entered the Tomb Mountain, but its strength has become this way. As long as it has a good relationship with Broly in the boundary, everyone will walk sideways. The two fell to the edge. Jian Wushuang's hands were behind, and Mo Luo stood by. The strength of the Guiling Island Lord was not weak. He was the first to notice 2 powerful auras coming, frowned, and looked at it, and recognized Jian Wushuang. As for Mo Luo, the other party didn't know him. Jian Wushuang. Guiling Island master leaked a smile, his heart low. Although he recognized his identity, he did not go to say hello. They are all inheritors, but in the eyes of the Guiling Island owner, there is a huge gap among the inheritors of He had also seen the inheritor of the Third Order Emperor at the beginning, and of course he was also like the inheritor of Shang who could fight half-step robbery. When looking at Jian Wushuang, although a little can't see through from the perspective of breath, his strength is obviously not as good as Broly. Island owner, who do you know? Most of the emperors gathered on the West Coast are local powerhouses. Only a few of them were transferred from other places, saying they were assisting Broly, but they were actually standing aside and watching. Seeing someone asked, the master of Guiling Island nodded slightly and said, "It's Jian Wushuang who was wanted back then. I heard that I don't unblock it. I didn't expect to appear here. Oh, I have heard that Jian Wushuang is still a Taoist, and I don't know if it is true or not." Someone said curiously, and the others' expressions changed dramatically when they heard that Jian Wushuang was a Taoist. The Turtle Island master shook his head and said, "I don't know about this. I entered the Three Kings Court with him back then. At that time, he was indeed a Taoist monarch. But now that all these years have passed, I still have some thoughts. I can't see through him. I can only feel that his breath is not weak. I am afraid that he has succeeded in harmony. I think it's the same. Compared with Lord Broly, it's still a long way away, but the black-robed old man next to him is not easy. Don't say that Jian Wushuang's strength is not weak. He can be comparable to the Fifth Order Emperor when he was Tao monarch. And if he succeeds in the Tao, I am afraid that he will have the level of the Sixth Order Emperor." Guiling Island Lord said calmly, "But even the Sixth Order Emperor, compared with Broly, is still far behind. Now Broly, he fought hard, and even killed a lot of them. It is still the pinnacle of change Tao. If it goes further and creates a universe secret method, after truly stepping into the pinnacle, it is no weaker than those gods." Chapter 55, 92, Above the Sea. From the downwind, Broly gradually leveled with the opponent, the strong barren beast. With 8 antennae constantly entangled Broly, but his breath has been suppressed. The tentacles burst out with dark red power again, forming a storm and instantly evaporating all the rocks of the coastline. There was a violent breath, and many weak emperors, the people who had been lifted, turned their backs on their horses. Only the Guiling Island Lord and a few Sixth Order emperors can stand firm. This is the mystery of the beast. The blood of this beast emperor has begun to soar. The strong man on the side of the monster race has hot eyes. That's the blood of the beast god. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo, who stood at the back, were also surprised, especially Jian Wushuang. The beast can't get around his cultivation. The essence and blood of the beast gods and the beast soldiers are the key factors to enhance the strength, especially the beast's now. When he felt the blood of the beast burst out, the beast soldier on his body emitted a scarlet light, slowly raised his left arm. It was the arm of the candle dragon. The blood veins in the dark red skin are clearly visible, and they are exuding incomparable violent power. Jian Wushuang suppressed it slightly and understood in his heart. The beast god weapon merged with him, and it was normal to long for the blood of the beast god, but coupled with the blessing of the original devouring power in his body, the evil thought that swallowed all things rose again. It's just that now he has mastered the complete power of all things and even created a unique life force, which is already able to control freely. If it had been before, he would have rushed past now. But even if he can manipulate it freely, he will go. The bloodline power in that wild beast body is very powerful and pure. If it is refined, it will be of great help to him. Although the current beast soldiers had been restored 7 or 88, they were not completely physical. One more thing, the heart of the beast god. When the Frosa helped him refine the beasts, he once said that even if he has all the beasts, he has refined the origins of the beasts, and he cannot restore the power of the ancient times. To fully recover, the most critical effort is needed. That is the mass of essence and blood in the heart of the beast god. That is more precious blood than the blood of the beast god. Where are the beast gods now? That is, a long river of time and space returns to sedimentation, and when it recovers again, the natural beast gods will appear. With the current Jian Wushuang, it is more difficult to obtain the essence and blood of the beast than to become a catastrophe. But now, there is a rare opportunity. Beast King. Originally, he stayed in the boundary because of Broly, but now it seems that he is about to change his goals, or solve the Beast King and Broly all. For those who threaten him, it is best to solve them all, otherwise it will be a disaster in the future. Broly is like this, and Jiangshang is the same. Moreover, Jiangshang had been taken away by Miexing and had already become an enemy of Qixin Temple, which is good to say. When the time comes, there will be a true spirit carrying it, but Broly is different. He is still a person from the Temple of the Gods, and he has a change in his body, and his strength is very horrible. The opponent's personality is flawed, even if a conflict kills him. The true spirit can't blame him. Now, his importance is far beyond Broly. Huiqing is asleep, Shang is in retreat. He is the only one who can compare with these two. Although Shang is still the first inheritor, he is not a perfect harmony after all, and there is still some gap between him and Huiqing. The Temple of Qixin in the future needs him, not Broly. Jian Wushuang also pinched this point, but now it seems that he may not need to act. Broly is going to be finished. Ouch! The 8-claw beast emperor roared, surrounded by 8 tentacles, and trapped Broly. The terrifying power squeezed Broly's body completely, leaving only the divine body and origin. He couldn't breathe under the pressure of that force. Call! Jian Wushuang took a step. His figure appeared directly above the coast. Standing in the same place, Mo Luo thought Jian Wushuang was going to help, and soared into the sky. You don't need to take action. Jian Wushuang said, this matter can only be done by him alone. If you pull Mo Luo together, the true spirit will definitely not forgive him in the future because of his face. Mo Luo didn't know Jian Wushuang's thoughts. He hesitated and said, Young master, this beast king? He was still a little worried about Jian Wushuang. Although the sword in human realm Jian Wushuang had exceeded his knowledge, he also discovered afterwards that the cost of using that sword was very high. Even Jian Wushuang needed to recover for an hour in order to restore the peak state again. This sword is a double-edged sword. If it can cut the opponent, everyone will be happy. If you can't win, then you lose all the game. Jian Wushuang in a weak state, the strength of the decline is too serious. It is estimated that a fifth-order emperor is not an opponent. But since Jian Wushuang insisted as a guard he didn't have much to say, he could only be ready to go to rescue at any time. Jian Wushuang, who was standing in the air, didn't rush to do it. It would be great if the Beast King could solve Broly. He doesn't need to do it anymore. Snipe and clam fight. He gains. Broly had no physical body, and the terrifying power faced the divine body. And then the source. Now at stake, the Guiling Island Master, and others set off one after another, ready to help. When they saw Jian Wushuang, they thought Jian Wushuang would also help, and they were still praising Jian Wushuang for his unique vision. At this time, helping Lord Broly would be indispensable in the future. After all, Broly is now in the sacred mountain of the tomb, and there is a faint figure of the Emperor in the land boundary. If Broly goes one step further, the unification of the entire boundary in the future may not be true. Such a promising superinheritor is an individual willing to invest. Whether it is a strong man in the realm or the inheritors, they will do this. But Jian Wushuang's thoughts, they will know about it. Seeing the figures gathered next to him, Jian Wushuang's dark red eyes at the center of his eyebrows slowly opened, and then a light burst out. Just a glance instantly severely injured several sixth-order emperors. Even the Guiling Island owner retreated thousands of miles, a turbulent force surging in his chest, and then spit out a mouthful of blood. You, the master of Guiling Island, pointed to Jian Wushuang angrily, unable to speak when he wanted to speak. Jian Wushuang leaned on the crowd with his hands behind his back and said calmly, "Mo Luo, kill them." These monster clan powerhouses die as soon as they die, and there is nothing soft about them. At the beginning of the Three Kings Court, after the fall of King Bai, he had not forgotten the feeling of surreptitious life. Although Mo Luo was a little surprised at Jian Wushuang's position at this time, he didn't hesitate to shoot directly. Several sixth-order emperors were like little chickens in Mo Luo's hands. Chapter 55-93. The cunning Emperor Tian Chan turned into his body and wanted to rush into the sea, but was caught by Mo Luo's giant hand directly in the palm of his hand, and he tore it to pieces. The owner of Guiling Island was dumbfounded, and the rest of the people did not dare to breathe. It is impossible to escape at all. There is no hope of fighting. Can only beg for mercy. Senior, spare my life. We have already taken refuge in the temple, and we hope that the predecessors will see the face of the temple and take our lives. We should not have seen what happened today. As for those temple powerhouses, they backed off one after another, fearing that they would be implicated, and everyone dared to intercede. Mo Luo shook his fist at random, without a word of nonsense, and shot again. Everything went smoothly and cleanly. The corpses of tens of thousands of monster beasts fell from the air, and their bodies also exuded the breath of death. The main body of the island master of the turtle spirit, a huge snapping turtle, has soared to its peak in strength and is about to spy on the ultimate realm. Just one step away. As long as he creates a secret method, he can become an absolute top. At the beginning of the Three Kings Court, the Turtle Spirit Island master received a lot of goods. Not only did his soul level improve a lot, he also got some ancient secrets. Now, with his full use, the divine body can actually skyrocket to 58,000 times. In terms of divine body, the Turtle Spirit Island Master is already a newcomer to the ultimate powerhouse. The extreme realm is actually very similar to the realm of Dao Jun in the Dian Immortal. It can be regarded as a qualitative change from the realm. It's like Dian Xian got the recognition of the origin of the space and slightly controlled some space. The absolute peak realm was originally divided for those emperors who reached the universe realm from space, but it was later discovered that entering absolute peak is not the only way to enter the universe realm. In addition to cosmic space, there are pinnacle secrets and divine bodies. This Turtle Spirit Island owner has a lot to ask for, elevated the soul realm, and wanted to create the pinnacle secret method to enter the pinnacle, but he did not stay in the divine body, relying on the many treasures obtained in the Three Kings Court and the battle with Broly all the way over the years. In particular, Broly was a lunatic. He only knew about fighting and had no interest in treasures, so he was interested in some inheritance. This can be seen from Jian Wushuang in the Shangqing Palace. And Broly has a high status in the Tomb Mountain, and there is no shortage of treasures. This is all cheap to the Guiling Island owner. This allowed him to increase the divine body to 58,000 times. Jian Wushuang was a little envious. His divine body is only 50,000 times, and now it has exceeded the limit of Dao Jun, and it is impossible to improve it anymore. It doesn't mean that he can't be promoted after becoming the emperor. After becoming the emperor, he can promote unscrupulously. and the beasts can also increase the divine body. However, he didn't want to waste this opportunity right now. Just as Mo Luo captured Guiling Island, Jian Wushuang raised Candle Dragon's arm, opened his eyes in the palm of his hand, swallowed directly, and rolled directly towards Guiling Island. Host, upon seeing this, Mo Luo punched through the Guiling Island master again, letting his breath drop again, and stopped doing it. Jian Wushuang grabbed the giant tortoise that was originally majestic. The huge turtle spirit island owner turned into only an inch long. The breath gathered all the way. Jian Wushuang played with it in his hand and whispered softly, "Get your turtle shell back. I can give you a way to survive." 58,000 times the divine body is almost all condensed on this turtle shell. If he can take the complete tortoise shell, after he becomes the emperor, he can directly swallow the divine body on the turtle shell. At least it can improve his basic divine body. Thousands of times. This is an inestimable wealth. Upgrading the divine body, the more the later stage, the greater the cost required. As long as you can help yourself, you can't waste it. The thought of becoming an emperor, the resources needed are almost endless. Jian Wushuang feels a little headache. The power of devouring cannot be used, and scrupulously, he can only get some treasures to improve himself. But these expenses brought him endless power. After he became the emperor, his beasts and gods were able to use their full strength, and by that time he could surpass 60,000 times the increase of the body. The secret method of the starry sky directly allowed him to achieve the ultimate realm. Not only these, there are also some treasures that he can fully grasp after becoming an emperor. For example, the Guantian chessboard he currently holds, it is the treasure of time and space. Once he became an emperor, he could copy more origins. At that time, all he copied was the origin of the universe, and it was still an extremely powerful origin of the universe. There is also the chess record left to him by the first true king. With the blessing of many treasures, after he becomes the emperor, he will completely transform into a dragon and jump out of this world. Hadao, imminent. Now the only thing that stood in front of him was the causal calamity. This causal killing and calamity was originally very weak. After he entered the temple of the Qishan, his strength continued to skyrocket, and he had already reached a negligible state. At the beginning, he was still thinking, just solve it casually. There is no need for Hui Qing to take action. He only needs to go to the world of Tongtian Buddhism and find a few monk heads to help him resolve it. But now it can grow into a catastrophe. Okanshu, calm makes him feel a headache. Since knowing the Lord of the universe, it is divided into 9 calamities. He felt more and more that this causal catastrophe, whether it was the catastrophe of his universe, had come early. It's not waiting. Jian Wushuang put the Guiling Island master away and waited until the heaven realm to solve it. Now, it is important to solve Broly and the wild beast first. Broly at this time could still hold on for some reason. According to Jian Wushuang's speculation, the 8-clawed beast emperor should have pinched the opponent to death. Not only was he puzzled, but even the 8-clawed beast king was puzzled. Obviously awakened the blood of the beast god, and his strength skyrocketed to the pinnacle in the extreme realm. How could it be so difficult to kill a 6th-order emperor? Zhu Dian's level analysis is very clear. They are the threshold, the first entry, the top, the pinnacle, and the perfection. These indigenous people think they have peak combat power, but in fact they are, at best. Mo Luo is also at this level, barely reaching the top. This 8-clawed beast emperor was a little different because he had awakened the blood of the beast god. And now he was standing at the top, and he was stronger than Mo Luo and Broly's strength. Although the stronger it became after the war, it was just about the same as Mo Luo. According to the strength of the Octopus Beast Emperor, it should have killed the opponent long ago. But Broly's breath was still declining, and he was able to hold it for so long. There is something strange in this. Although Jian Wushuang knew something about Change Dao, he didn't know much. The Octopus Beast Emperor also had fear in his heart, and he didn't take it seriously when he started to fight Broly. But now he was a little scared. The huge eyes turned his head. Knowing that Jian Wushuang had something to ask, he took the lead and said, "Strong human race, I know you have a feast with this person. This is the best opportunity to eradicate him. You still don't do it." "Thanks, Tusk." Jian Wushuang shook his head. Chapter 55, 94. Although he was worried, he had not yet reached the point of cooperating with a wild beast. Even if the opponent can't kill Broly, he will wait for the two to decide the winner before taking the shot. Relying on external forces is ultimately uncontrollable. The White King was an example. The sudden fall left him unaccompanied by himself, and he was completely blinded in the Three Kings' court. "Today, either you killed him or I killed you." Jian Wushuang's eyes changed and stared at the Octopus Beast Emperor. His tone was cold, and the aura on his body began to rise. When the Octopus Beast King heard this, he was taken aback for a while, and after Jian Wushuang raised his aura to the peak, he couldn't help laughing and mocking. "It's up to you?" Originally, he thought how strong Jian Wushuang was, even he couldn't tell the details. Now that Jian Wushuang took the initiative to release his breath, he realized that he was just entering the extreme, and it was not enough to be afraid. "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, pulled out the Jueyun sword behind his right hand, and said, "Give you time for the last incense stick. If you can't solve it, I will solve you first." The moment the Jueyun sword was pulled out, the sword aura suddenly descended on the West Sea, and the entire West Sea was filled with that terrifying sword aura. It seems that this world is born for the sword. Dominate this world. Jian Wushuang's state at this moment is super strong. Actually stepped into the ultimate realm by virtue of the Starry Sky sword intent. He has crossed a realm now. From Daojun to the top. Star Catalog. A wonderful picture scroll. He needs to hold the sword to describe it. Just drew out the Jueyun sword. The surrounding heaven and earth became frozen, the space was condensed, and the flow of time slowed down. This scene made Mo Luo leak his respect again, but the Eight-Claw Beast Emperor was originally a wild beast and had a very low understanding of its origin. He couldn't see what the sword intent meant, and he didn't care at all. The only thing he worried about was Mo Luo, the black-robed old man who has been on the coast. Mo Luo's strength is not simple. If the three of them besieged him, it would be really dangerous. And he also saw that the black-robed old man obeyed the mysterious sword-wielding words in front of him. He was not afraid of Jian Wushuang's shot, but he was afraid that the other party would let Mo Luo shot. Thinking of this, he once again mobilized the power of the blood in his body and increased his strength. "Wanna smash Broly completely? Die to me." The Eight-Clawed Beast King's thousands of eyes are expanding, obviously using all his strength to trap Broly to death in one fell swoop. Broly, who was bound, only leaked ahead. At this moment, his hair was scattered, and the golden collar on his neck began to produce cracks. The weakness of his body is constantly declining, and there is no trace of color in his eyes, like white wax. Discovering that Broly's breath was weak again, the Eight-Clawed Beast Emperor used force again, preparing to kill Broly in one fell swoop. After exerting his full strength again, Broly's divine body also shattered. Once the divine body breaks, what remains is the origin. Although the origin is strong, it is very fragile without the defense of the divine body. At stake, the emperors of those temples are already thinking about running away. Once Broly fell, They couldn't stop the Shihai overlord at all. Let's go. There is no chance. Go back and inform the other powerful people in the temple. The temple is not the only one in the realm of Broly. Since the gods left, the temple of the realm has gathered more than 10 superpowers. It is bound to take the entire land boundary in one fell swoop. When Broly fell, there were other people who would come to clean up the 8-clawed Beast King. They were not worried about that. The difficulty is that I don't know how to deal with it. Jian Wushuang stabbed a knife in the middle. What are they going to say? They have already learned from the temple that Jian Wushuang is different from the past, both in strength and status. It is impossible to offend, and it is extremely stupid to offend Jian Wushuang for a dead person. And Broly has a violent personality, and he doesn't have any kindness to them. The only advantage is that Broly doesn't interfere when he divides the treasures, but it doesn't mean that no one squeezes them. Every time the treasure is distributed, the owner of Turtle Spirit Island takes the big head. With the relationship with Broly, they dare not say anything. For this, they all blamed Broly. Just when these people were about to leave, the world began to change. The original freeze frame color gradually became a little unstable. This was Jian Wushuang's own aura, but it was invisibly disrupted. Not only did they feel puzzled, even Jian Wushuang also leaked a surprised expression. Jian Wushuang suddenly turned his head and looked at Broly. Obviously, there is no chance of a comeback, and God seems to have given Broly another chance. Around Broly's neck, the collar burst completely. A fierce force erupted from Broly's body. That is the power from the ancient beast. This collar was born with Broly. No matter how he took it, he couldn't take it away. But today it was crushed by the 8-claw Beast King. Originally, Jian Wushuang didn't care about the collar at all. He thought it was just an ordinary treasure. But at the moment of breaking, Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed, and suddenly he thought of something. That mask. Jian Wu's face changed. When fleeing in the heavens, had such a breath in the mysterious masks obtained from the 2 demon Dao Emperors. The same as Broly's shattered collar. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang shuddered. Things seemed not as simple as he thought. If Jiang Shang's strength is destined to be touched by him, then he has nothing to say. Just treat yourself as unlucky. Anyway, he didn't encounter any unlucky things. But Broly's rise made him a little skeptical, especially the emergence of extinction. A mysterious strong man who controls the power of death can appear in the temple of the god, either stronger than the god of God, or has a relationship with the god of God. Invisibly, Jian Wushuang felt that he had fallen into a deep hollow again. This time it was stronger than the fear brought by the gods, as if he had entered this game of chess since countless epochs. Everything is so coincidental. With a flip of his hand, he took out the mask from the mustard seed and grasped the black and white mask. Jian Wushuang settled down, staring deeply at Broly, whose breath was soaring, and said to himself, "No matter how you arrange it, after all, I am not as fast as I can improve. After the harmony, I see if you can predict how strong I will be after the harmony." He knew the path to the tribulation realm clearly. Secret Mahayana, space, and universe. As long as these 2 things are done, he will be able to attack the robbery. Although he hasn't been in harmony, it's just a Taoist monarch. There is a lot of fantasy about the robbery realm. If he is known by others, I am afraid he will laugh at him as arrogant. But only he himself knows that once you and he succeed in harmony and follow the Starry Sky catalog, his secret method will soon be able to Mahayana. The first sword of the star catalog can kill the top powerhouse, which is many times stronger than those ordinary peak secret methods. Chapter 55-95. Maybe it was already in the Mahayana realm, but he couldn't feel it now. After all, it is a horrible secret that contains time. As for the cosmic space, he has a chessboard for viewing the sky, and his cultivation speed is many times faster than others do not know. President Chi's origin of the universe is probably more than the origin of the universe in the Temple of Chishan. This is the treasure of time and space that Xianyi left for him. Even the first true king didn't understand it. It's far more than what the first true king said. With such a treasure, it would be too simple for him to achieve cosmic space. When he was in Daojun, he was able to condense 99% of the black holes in the space across the realm. Once the harmony is successful, he may reach the realm of the black hole directly. If the harmony is successful, everything in the body will skyrocket. The emperor is just too much. He intends to robbery, seeing a lot, listening a lot. His vision is high. He had witnessed the power of the Six Tribulations realm, and that was his goal. Those gods and generals who were envious in the past are just a passing moment. After Fuego returned to his peak, he consulted the power of the opponent's Jia realm. That's what he wants to pursue. No matter how powerful Miexing is, there are real spirits that can contain the opponent, and Miexing has now left the Temple of Chishan. He has time to practice and transcend. In this game of chess, not only the two players are playing, but he is also gradually becoming a player from a pawn. Even in the future, he will have the power to overturn the chessboard. Wait, Jian Wushuang's eyes have never been so firm. Staring at Broly below and discovering the changing strength of the opponent, he didn't have any surprises or a sense of oppression. The octopus beast emperor was a little panicked. Broly's breath began to rise gradually, and the force of that fierce beast broke through the cage and instantly entered Broly's body. Broly raised his head slowly, and the hair rose instantly. The hair that was originally dangling turned white and exploded directly. Broly, with white hair, his divine body suddenly condensed, and his physical body also recovered, then gritted his teeth and roared, directly shattering the restraint of the eight-clawed beast emperor. Broly, who was standing diagonally in the air, leaked a wicked smile. This scene trembles the temple powerhouses who want to withdraw. The eight-claw beast emperor only felt that his 8 tentacles were numb, and that breath was too strong. Broly moved his wrist slightly, as if feeling the strength in his body now. Jian Wushuang saw something and roared immediately, "Hurry up, you idiot!" Now Broly has not completely mastered the power in the body. The 8-clawed beast emperor still has a chance. Once Broly has mastered the power in the body, the 8-clawed beast emperor will undoubtedly die. After hearing the reminder, no matter how stupid the octopus beast emperor was, he understood that there should be some restriction hidden in Broly's body. Now, the restriction has been broken, his strength has skyrocketed, and he has not completely absorbed control. If he doesn't read the book, there will be no chance. When Broly slowly raised his hand, Jian Wushuang understood that there was no chance. A grip of the void, an incomparably huge black ball power gathered in the palm of Broly's palm. That power made the world retreat, and the breath directly shook the emperors who were watching the game back countless miles. Dead. A simple word reveals extremely crazy domineering. Boom. A huge beam of light swept across the west coast indiscriminately. The mundane world instantly turned into dust. Countless famous mountains and rivers turned into ashes. Jian Wushuang now understood how that ruin in the human world had formed. At the moment the beam of light broke out, he had long since pulled away and dodged. The 8-clawed beast emperor's body was so big that it was already difficult to move and could not hide at all, so he could only resist. In the beam of light, the 8 shots of the 8-clawed beast emperor broke and turned into powder. Seeing that he was about to fall completely, Jian Wushuang was also a little panicked. The 8-clawed beast emperor still has the blood of the beast he needs, so it can't be wasted. The The Juyin sword held upside down in his hand was chopped out in one piece. Unremarkable. Although it is not the first sword in the Star catalog, but with his current strength, this sword is enough for the moment. The killing of Kendo is so wonderful. His own realm is obviously only the first to reach the top, but his combat power can stop Broly, an absolute powerhouse who has stepped into the top. The beam of light instantly turned into 2 halves. At this time, only half of the beam of light hit the 8-claw Beast Emperor half to death, his body trembling constantly, 8 tentacles cut off. He never expected that Broly would be so strong. Never thought that Jian Wuxuang would save him. Practitioner, I'm with you. Seeing Jian Wuxuang's action, the Octopus Beast Emperor thought he was going to join forces against Broly, but he didn't expect Jian Wuxuang to cut another sword. Although the power of this sword is not comparable to that of Broly, the power of the sword is pure, and it did not destroy it with great fanfare like Broly. The 8-clawed Beast Emperor just turned into 2 halves. When he died, the 8-clawed Beast Emperor didn't understand why Jian Wuxuang had to kill him first. Plop, plop. A huge heart is still beating, but the demon core of the Octopus Beast Emperor has dimmed. Okanshu, Calm Jian Wu's hands are sharp and fast, and he grabs the heart of the Beast Emperor with one hand and directly swallows it, absorbing all the blood power in it. Then a group of trembling blood appeared in his origin. He just swallowed the essence and blood into his body. As for the effort of refining to become a beast god, it is far from enough. Now, in the Qixin Temple, there is only one strong person who can help him refine his blood. Xuanwu Palace Master, the one with the same name as his master Xian. The opponent is not only a master puppet, but also a great power in refining the Tao. It is countless times stronger than Qiu Huang's kind of caste god. Even the Frosa can't match it. But this is something to prepare for in the future. And he has to solve Broly now. This enemy is likely to be a chess piece in the layout of extinction. He had already transmitted Wuzhua and asked him to find the true spirit for verification. If it is really an extinction layout, he will have to kill even more. Broly stared at some familiar figures in front of him, and his fighting spirit rose. In his eyes, there are no companions at all. Except for his father Bukuin, there are only strong men who can fight against him. Warlike blood boiled in him. In the past, he was able to suppress 1 or 2, but now that the ban is widened, it is difficult for him to stop the monstrous fighting spirit. You have to be my enemy. Broly is a war-mad, with a keen sense of fighting. He also found the same aura on Jian Wuxuang's body. This makes him happy. War. Born for war. To the dead. Jian Wuxuang stared at Broly and looked at it carefully. The other party's changes were great, and his flesh became even more burly, with his white hair standing upright as if he had blown out his hair. His body was wrapped in white arrogance. He has witnessed the power of change Tao with his own eyes. Chapter 55, 96. It is indeed not weaker than the ultimate knowing. It's a pity that he not only masters the ultimate kendo, but also the extreme Tao that is even more against the sky. One thought of the universe. Jian Wuxuang didn't have any reservations. As soon as he came up, his firepower was full. Directly exert a thought on the universe, and the power of life will also cover the whole body. Broly's power is very powerful. If he can't dodge, he may fall in an instant. Fortunately, he has the power of life. As long as there is a trace of energy, he can instantly restore his peak. Interesting. Broly didn't know why Jian Wuxuang wanted to fight him, but he didn't care either, because he liked fighting. He stepped forward and directly entered Yin universe, and found that his power was instantly suppressed. He did not shrink back, and rushed directly to Jian Wuxuang's side. Jian Wuxuang was shocked. He didn't expect that the impact of the universe on Broly would be so small. When dealing with Zhu Jian, he was able to suppress 30% of the combat power, but now he has only suppressed Broly's strength by 10%. The speed of dealing with it was not as slow as he thought, but it was surprisingly fast. Fortunately, under the blessing of Yin Universe, he teleported and dodged, and did not choose to head on. Broly missed a punch and froze for a while, then turned to look at Jian Wushuang behind him, tilted his head and said, "Are you only hiding?" Jian Wushuang stared at Broly, or at the back of Broly, a dark hole appeared where he was just standing. It was brought out by Broly with a punch. It was the first time that he could smash the universe of his thoughts. This is really a strong enemy. In the universe, outsiders can't see the fight between the two at all. They can only vaguely hear the sound of bursting void. And the one-minded universe, now riddled with holes. A huge circular universe has been smashed out of numerous large holes. Mo Luo was a little anxious in the outside world, wanted to enter, but found that he couldn't get in at all. He had seen Yin Universe, and it was the first time he had seen it if he could be labeled as such. This shows that Broly's strength is far beyond Jian Wushuang. He kept spreading the sound of Jian Wushuang, fearing that Jian Wushuang would have fallen, and now he has finally managed to keep up with a patron. If he had fallen like this, he would have no meaning to live. "Are you afraid that I won't die fast enough?" Boom! After hearing Jian Wushuang's reply, Mo Luo breathed a sigh of relief. But in the next moment, the circular universe burst completely. Jian Wushuang's figure also appeared in front of everyone. The emperors who were onlookers watched from a distance, not daring to move forward. Mo Luo rushed over and said anxiously, "Young master." Thousands of words, but I don't know where to say it. Can't persuade Jian Wushuang to escape. Don't talk about it. As long as you walk with those wastes, this place will soon disappear. Jian Wushuang held the Jueyun sword upside down, turned and looked at the collapsed and contracted Yin Universe, his eyes condensed. The clothes on his body were already in tatters, leaking out the Candle Dragon's armor. The scarlet arm protruded from the Candle Dragon's wings, and a group of the power of all things that had been condensed long ago was thrown out again, thrown into the collapsed universe. Then he turned his head and yelled at Mo Luo, "Go!" Mo Luo was at a loss, took 2 steps back, with mixed feelings in his heart, and finally turned and fled. At the same time, shouted at the temple emperors who were still watching the battle, "Leave quickly, don't be conceited." Jian Wushuang was right that this place was about to be destroyed, because after the collapse of the universe, after turning into a pole, it will burst completely. By then, the West Coast will be turned into ruins, just like the ruins of the human world. This kind of battlefield ruins are not ordinary ruins. They will form the void like the great wilderness, and even the power will disappear together. Without power, this place is not suitable for cultivation, and even mortals cannot survive. If it were an ordinary collapse and burst, I am afraid that it would not form a middle ruin. But Jian Wushuang added a group of extremely terrifying power of all things. That group of power of all things will destroy all the power of all things here. And Broly is still trapped in the collapsed universe. Jian Wushuang was waiting for the explosion of the universe outside. If none of this can kill you, then which sword is the only one left? Jian Wushuang's eyes kept fighting. In this battle, he constantly surpassed the limit. Although he failed to suppress Broly, he was able to fight the opponent for so long without falling below. His combat power is also rising. Fighting with the natural of war, he does not have the oppression of those people, and some are just hardy, happy after becoming the strong. That's how it should be. If there is no opponent, wouldn't it be boring? The collapsing universe quickly turned into a pole. After Jian Wushuang saw it, a thought force burst out, and the candle dragon wings also enveloped him. A force that extinguished the universe burst, instantly spread out, and faded away. The high tide of the sea wiped away the heaven and the earth. Everything in the world began to die at this moment. Although he was wrapped in the wings of a candle dragon, Jian Wushuang was still shaken back tens of thousands of miles before slowly taking hold of his figure. In this dead space, let alone fighting, it is difficult to survive. Jian Wushuang has the power of all things, so naturally it doesn't matter. He wanted to see how he could change the way of change. At the core of the burst, he could clearly feel a force. It was Broly. Sure enough, the other party was not dead, but he was also seriously injured. Originally, there was the universe of one mind, and he was able to fight against Broly without losing the wind, but gradually he discovered that Broly's changing way was adapting to the universe of one mind. In other words, once he fully adapts, Broly will no longer be suppressed by the universe of one mind, but can still be blessed by the universe of one mind. So he will choose to blue the universe of one mind. Not only can this situation be stopped, but Broly can be seriously injured. And he himself is still at his peak. Change everything. This move made his chassis all useless, and Jian Wushuang was still a little shocked by this. Silence. Amidst the countless smoke and dust, a burly figure stood in the void. It's Broly. Numerous wounds on his body are slowly healing. Although Jian Wushuang does not have the abnormal recovery speed, it is not too slow. Jian Wushuang didn't care about this, but he found that Broly's breath didn't seem to weaken much. On the contrary, there was still a tendency to rise. The original white arrogance has now been added with a white arc. Your move is very interesting. Broly walked out slowly. He didn't feel any sense of the burst of the universe just now. Instead, he became very interested in Jian Wushuang's Yin universe just now. Raise your hand a little, a pole appears from the tip of your finger, and a terrifying power follows. Jian Wu was shocked and quickly backed away, surprised. How is it possible? That extreme point is clearly the extreme point after the collapse of the universe. Chapter 55, 97. Fortunately, he is more familiar with it and backs away fast enough. Otherwise, no matter how strong his physical body is, he will fall. Broly is stronger than he thought, or the defense is beyond his imagination. Not only can it resist the self-detonation of the universe, but can also imitate the universe that has collapsed to the extreme. The extreme explosion, although not as powerful as his one thought when the universe exploded, it was similar to 7 or 8. Jian Wushuang put away the package of Candle Dragon's wings, and the broken flesh in his chest recovered, and a blood shed from the corner of his mouth, slowly dripping from the sky. He gathered his strength again, and wanted to reach the peak state. Otherwise he was not Broly's opponent at all. But this time he had not succeeded in gathering his energy, and the opponent punched him straight to the door. It's faster. Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry to dodge. He could only raise his hand to resist. Boom! The whole body was shaken back, and fell directly on the land like coke below. When he got up again, Broly was already in front of him, and the terrifying pressure made him breathless. After being passively beaten one after another, although he recovered quickly, he could not maintain that peak state. Under normal circumstances, he was simply not enough for the opponent, Broly. That repressive force is stronger than any opponent he has encountered. A little distraction is about to fall. Wow! The void was torn through countless cracks by the white arc. Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to jump into the crack, and when he reappeared, he was already in the void. A large group of life force poured into the whole body. You also have an immortal body. Broly closed his fists and turned to look at Jian Wushuang in the void, a little surprised. Immortal? Jian Wushuang raised his jaw and said, "What do you think is the immortal body?" Until now, he understood why Broly's feeling of oppression was so strong. His defensive power is simply a metamorphosis level, and he can't kill it at all. And the power is terribly powerful. Apparently, he has realized the secret of the pinnacle. Otherwise, it's impossible to force it like this, fighting again and again, constantly transforming, constantly surpassing. From Broly when he started with the 8-clawed Beast King, his strength has now been doubled. To deal with the strong of this kind of change, you need to be at least one level stronger than the opponent. Otherwise, you will not be able to win at all because the opponent will become stronger as the battle becomes stronger. Call! Broly's figure flashed, and he was also standing in the void, his pewter eyes staring at Jian Wushuang, his voice hoarse. "I haven't lost. Naturally, I am immortal." This is quite domineering. "Haven't lost." Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank, and he asked himself. He came from a weak point. Although he has won many times, he hasn't lost so much. Perhaps the opponent he met was too strong every time, and every time he was better than him by several levels. Just say that when he first met King Bai, he was a Taoist. What could he do to face the most powerful? Broly even said such words. It seems that he has not been hit. Song. He drew out the Jueyun sword again, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said, "I have never lost this sword before. Today I will share the victory or defeat with you, as well as life and death." Star Catalog. The first sword. He did not lose. After all, it hadn't been long since he was created. He did not lose in the battle and extinction, but it was a pity that the opponent's deity appeared, and he could not help it. Broly looked at him, but was stunned for a while, playing with the taste. "I just want to win. I didn't want to kill you. It can be seen that you are just a Taoist." Jia. Jian Wushuang looked up to the sky and let out a weird laugh. He had thought that some people disdained to kill him, just want to win. Is this a Taoist looking down on him? This kind of disdain is the only way he treats others from time to time, the kind of mercy that doesn't kill. Has anyone ever offered him alms? If the other party says that he will be broken into pieces, this is the greatest respect. Jian Wushuang slowly lowered his head, then glanced at it, staring at the invincible Broly, and said with a trembling voice, "Broly, do you know who killed your father?" Bukuin. When Broly heard his father, he obviously paused, his body trembling slightly. His father is more like a yoke that binds him, and his violent nature tends to restrain him a little bit. The feeling of treating his father made him very comfortable, although he came to the realm for the purpose of looking for his father's enemy. But he valued the battle again and again. Now, when he heard his father again, his body was trembling, and his breath was declining. Broly raised his finger to Jian Wushuang, and the arc on his body disappeared, degenerating into a white arrogance. "Yes, I killed your father, and Bukuin died in my hands." Jian Wushuang leaked a satisfied smile. He disdained to use this method to reduce the opponent's strength just to make Broly angry. Let him understand that one of the two must have fallen today. Since the battle, he has also fallen into a frenzy of fighting. Ah! Broly suddenly hugged his head, arched his body, and roared, as if there was a fierce beast raging in his body. Jian Wushuang was very excited about this. Ukanshu, seemed that Broly was going crazy this time. Bukin's strength is too weak. When I killed him, I couldn't bear even one move. Jian Wushuang shook his head, his tone of disdain. Just like killing a trash, there is nothing worth talking about. Not a proud record. An ordinary fifth-order emperor can kill him by blowing his breath. Of course, all of this was fabricated by him. And Bukuin did die because of him, but he didn't kill him. He didn't take the other party seriously at all, but the situation had changed at that time. He didn't want his back path to be controlled by outsiders, and he had to kill the prince of the Maluo kingdom. Killing Bukuan was just incidental. Unexpectedly, today he attracted an extremely powerful opponent. Jian Wushuang really didn't regret it. No matter how powerful it is a pawn. Broly, who was struggling, gradually recovered. Although his hands were drooping and his head could not be lifted, the breath on his body was restored, and the white arcs surrounding his body became more vigorous. A fierce beast phantom flew out of his body. This time it completely disappeared. Broly in full body, the pinnacle of change. At this moment, Broly's strength is comparable to Wuzhua, even stronger than those messengers in the Temple of Forbidding God. Jian Wushuang. Broly slowly raised his head, not knowing if he was mad or why. He actually smiled with his mouth raised. Jian Wushuang. He clenched fists with both hands, leaned back, and his breath exploded again. Jian Wushuang couldn't open his eyes, with his hands in front of him. Finally, do you want to take it seriously? Jian Wushuang endured the storm and put down his hands to face Broly. Chapter 55, 98. He is very confident in the first sword in the Star Catalog. No matter how powerful Broly is, as long as this sword is born, everything will be destroyed. Let this emptiness turn into a starry sky portrait. Space and time must be squeezed into a painting. This sword is his greatest reliance. Are you ready? Jian Wushuang held the sword in one hand and slowly closed his eyes. He was feeling the power from the stars. There should be an end to the battle between the two, in a chaotic area extremely far away from the West Sea. Mo Luo and the others stood here, but the direction of the West Sea was a piece of scorched earth, which became the ruins of the battlefield. The strong man in the headquarters of the Earth Temple had already felt the strong aura of the fight, but no one came to watch or stop it. Bai Yi's clone was sitting on the temple, still holding a token in his hand. When Jian Wushuang and Broly had just fought, he received the news. Before he could go, Zhang Ling personally stopped him. At this time, a very subtle scene appeared in front of him. Bai Duan sat on the hall, but the true spirit was like a withered old man standing at the door of the hall, looking into the distance. Master True Spirit, really want to give up Broly? Bai Yi was still a little bit reluctant, and his tone was also unwilling. After all, he is a powerhouse of change Dao, and he has grown to this point now. Zhang Ling didn't answer, just shook his head, which is also an attitude. Obviously, Bai Yi didn't know the truth. The truth of the extinction may not be known to the four main hall masters. It turns out that you are going to destroy the Temple of Qixin. Zhenling said to himself. At the beginning, he guessed and guessed, constantly flipping through the timeline. No one could be found. Originally thought it was Jian Wushuang, but later felt that it was not. He shot Hui Qing and found the clues, starting with Jiangshang. In the end, the extinction came, and he understood everything. It is not that others want to destroy the Temple of Qixin, but he himself wants to destroy the Temple of Qixin. Since the catastrophe was set at the beginning, why bother to create the Temple of Qixin? And create him. He is also a pawn. You shouldn't believe him. Zhang Ling gritted his teeth and roared from the bottom of his heart. He has very little information on extinction, but it can also be found that the other party is not simple at all. At first, he was the second strongest in Moroa time and space, a half-step seven tribulations realm strong. Moroa time and space is a long river of medium time and space. It is very good to have a seven tribulation realm powerhouse in countless times. With the appearance of the gods, many people originally thought that Moro's time and space would expand and become a dazzling river of time and space in the starry sky. The result eventually died. Behind all this, I am afraid that there is a plan for extinction. although I don't know what the other party promised to the original god. But looking at it now, the of the time clearly believed the other person. And the few people taken away by extinction are also very subtle. Among the 3 true kings that the Chishan abandoned the way of devouring, 2 of them are still alive, or from another perspective, both are still alive. Mountain King, Ancient King, Demon King. Shanjun's body was decomposed at the beginning, and besides Shanjun, for demon masters were separated. There were only 2 people who knew of the true spirit, and both were taken away by extinction. And Jiang Shang, this heaven-defying practitioner, appeared in the temple of Chishan. He had been on guard since Jiang Shang appeared. It didn't appear early, it didn't appear late, but it appeared now. Since Jiang Shang was also on the chessboard, Broly was probably the one who died. Among the 4 great secret realms, it is impossible to give birth to a strong robbery realm. The practitioners in the secret realm all have defects, and this cannot be changed, unless it was he who took the initiative to transform the other party's origin. Neither Jiang Shang nor Brolita had ever been reformed. This is obviously a placed by extinction. Even if Jian Wushuang didn't make a move, he would personally get rid of Broly. But now that Jian Wushuang is taking action, some gossip can be subtracted. He didn't care about this in the past. Today is different from the past. The appearance of extinction is also good and evil. Not only will it threaten the current temple of Chishan, it may also threaten his status. What if the opponent has something to kick him out of the game? When the time comes, it will be unreasonable. Fortunately, he had the foresight and created the Palace of the Elders, holding the inheritors firmly in his own hands. Now, the 4 halls, he didn't believe it anymore. Mieshan cooperated with the deity back then. If by and the people knew about this, I'm afraid they would really rebel and switch to Mieshan. He has to wait now, wait for the extinction to come true. I am afraid that after the other party leaves, there is no movement, and it is him who is passive. If there is an accident, I will run away, take the Temple of Chishan to other time and space rivers, exploring the 4 secret realms over and over again, as well as the entire interior of the Chishan Temple. Xunling never rest assured. On the battlefield of the West Coast, there is going to be a peak showdown. Jian Wushuang versus Broly. Now, Jian Wushuang is standing at his peak again. His strength is comparable to that of an absolute powerhouse, which sword in his hand can kill the absolute peak. Broly has also reached the perfect body. The potential in the body is fully stimulated, and the change path is displayed to the peak. The combat power has reached the pinnacle of horror, comparable to the ancient powerhouse like Wuzhua, who has practiced for countless years. Jian Wushuang's figure began to flicker, and the speed was beyond imagination. The figure is obviously still in place, but the breath has reached the deepest part of the void. Starry Sky Catalog. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily, and Jueyun's sword lay in front of him, and the next moment he dived directly into Broly. The first sword. The sword spirit is vast, and it tilts abruptly. Countless thoughts are trembling, space changes, time freezes. Broly clenched his fists with both hands and placed it on his waist. With his toes abruptly, he directly smashed the condensed space under his feet and rushed towards Jian Wushuang without any advance. Numerous waves of energy were condensed in his hands, and he kept throwing towards Jian Wushuang. It's just that the speed of the power condensed by these breaths is reduced, which is too slow for Jian Wushuang. Countless huge circular energies are frozen in the void, hanging like the sun and the moon. At the tip of the Jueyun sword, a little starry sky exploded, and the space began to twist from the tremor. Time completely freezes, and it freezes Broly's body. He still has too little control of time, and he can only comprehend some of the profound meanings in the first sword of the starry sky. All he can do is to freeze Broly in the void, and he cannot freeze the opponent's consciousness. So Broly can feel that his speed has slowed down, but his consciousness and thoughts are still moving fast. After being frozen, he burst out with a powerful aura again, trying to break the cage. The body is frozen, but the mind is still there. He escaped from the physical body, and the divine body rushed out with the original source. This scene shocked Jian Wushuang. Two Broly appeared in the frozen void. One is a dim body who has been abandoned by Broly, and the opponent is very decisive when he arrives. Chapter 55:99. But it is the same now without the physical body. It is impossible to stop him by virtue of the divine body. Cut! Jian Wushuang once again exhausted his whole body strength, turning the direction and rushing towards Broly's divine body. The majestic divine body is not constrained by time. Broly also knows that there is no physical presence. He is very fragile now, and must break the prohibition here as soon as possible. Although only the divine body is left, the power of each punch still has the highest strength, and it is smashed with one punch, and the void is constantly shattered. In front of Broly, the frozen void was like mirrors. Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank, and if this continued, he couldn't attack Broly at all. In addition, the power consumed by this sword was too great, and he couldn't drag the opponent down. Broly, can you only hide? Jian Wushuang was furious and could only anger the opponent with words, and yelled, "You are not worthy of being a monk or a qualified warrior. You have forgotten Bukun's teachings. Take out all your strength and fight me head-on." Confrontation. He is invincible. This sword is invincible. Broly's eyes changed from white wax to blood red, and the white arc on his body also turned blood. The breath is advancing by leaps and bounds again. This breath made Jian Wushuang feel familiar and terrified. He knows a lot about the powers of the Tribulation Realm, and he has also looked at several powers of the Tribulation Realm, such as Fuigan and other superpowers in the Six Tribulations realm. He was so familiar with that breath. Broly could still explode, which he did not expect. This time the aura was already comparable to Tribulation Realm. With the sword on the string, he couldn't control that much anymore. Now, even if the leaned over Broly, he would rush over and cut the opponent. This is the only chance. Every time there is only one chance left, he will ask himself in his heart, if this is the last chance in his life, how he can exert his strength beyond his own and win the opponent. If it can't be taken, he will fall. So he must win. Juyunjian freezes the void, freezes the time. Now in this void, only the gods of him and Broly can move. Broly transformed again, and after stepping into another realm, there was no violent anger, but a trace of calmness. Facing his strongest sword, he didn't dodge to hide, but faced each other. This is in his arms. The Jueyun sword came in an instant, turning into hundreds of millions of miles in size, facing Broly. The other party wanted to hide now. There was no chance. Jian Wushuang seemed to have seen Broly's fall through time. But at this moment, in the headquarters of the Earth Realm Temple, the true spirit suddenly confused the gods, yelling badly, and rushed towards Jian Wushuang in a hurry. The true spirit shuttles at will in the four great secret realms, and it only takes one breath to reach Jian Wushuang's position. But for the peak power, a breath is still a bit slow. The first sword, become. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. This time, he had a lot of insights into the complete display, and the first sword was truly perfected to a perfect state. The space within 1,000,000 miles around turned into a portrait, leaving only a fresh life for him. Broly's breath can no longer be felt. In the portrait, Broly has red hair and a red arc flashing on his body. He stretched out in one hand to pinch Jian Wushuang's Juyin sword. Really arrogant. Jian Wushuang looked at this scene with disdain in his heart. It's too much to underestimate the power of the starry sky if he tried to block him with in vain. Looking down at his masterpiece, Jian Wushuang was very satisfied. It's just that his Juyin sword also fell into the portrait this time, becoming a dead thing. But it's not a big deal. He can use the power of life to take it out. It's not difficult. Just as he was about to divide the picture scroll and prepare to accept it, the space that was frozen in the picture scroll began to tremble. Jian Wushuang glanced around in surprise. The next moment his chest burst, and a big hand appeared in front of him at some unknown time. When he reacted and wanted to mobilize the power of life to replenish himself, death had already come, and his power of life was firmly suppressed in the source. That crazy force of death is still devouring his life force. Jian Wushuang opened his mouth, and his eyes widened. Life is constantly losing. It's Broly. In other words, it is extinction. Miexing took control of Broly, suddenly shattered his starry sky catalog, took the opportunity to sneak attack, and penetrated his chest in one fell swoop. The Candle Dragon's inner armor was completely shattered and turned into fragments. Without a complete source of the Beast God, the Beast God weapon can easily be crushed by a strong robbery. It's easy to resist the extremity, but his face is extinction. The super existence that can confront the true spirit deity head-on. He wanted to transmit the true spirit, but he couldn't do it. This time it was his turn to despair completely. That touch of death power madly swallowed his life. In a trance, he also understood. No wonder he will evolve from the power of all things to the power of life. And it turns out that he has relative power. Reading www.okanshu.com. I have now become a stepping stone for others. Space can be combined with time to form space and time. Life combined with death can also form reincarnation. This is not a simple reincarnation. Just like Hui Qing has mastered the Zen machine, it is reincarnation. Now he has caught a glimpse of the true meaning of reincarnation. That is a complete reincarnation. One level with time and space. That is the power beyond the tribulation realm. Is a shortcut to a higher level. Jian Wushuang understood at this moment. However, he discovered that even though the power of death could suppress him, the power contained in it was not as powerful as the extinct deity. Relatively, it is also mutual. If the power of death in the six tribulations realm erodes the power of life, I am afraid that it will be empty, and the opponent is just a group of death power of the highest level. He still has hope. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang used the last thought, went to the sea of his own origin, and condensed into an incarnation. At this time, the sea of his origin, the waves rolled. When his avatar appeared, he happened to see the force of death. The condensed avatar of the life force is the same as the deity's appearance, except that the body exudes a green aura. After the force of death discovered Jian Wushuang's incarnation, he twisted for a while and turned into Jian Wushuang's appearance. Only black. Jie, you can't stop me. Black Jian Wushuang sneered. Jian Wushuang shot directly. This place is the sea of his origin. Can he be threatened by an outsider? You are trying to swallow me in vain. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily and started directly. The two only used their pure power to fight, and they didn't want to fight to the death like the deity, and the secret method was rampant. Chapter 5600, The Purest Death and the Purest Life. This time Jian Wushuang became stronger in Vietnam. It was the fear of death and the desire to treat life. The power of death is different. Can you hear that it's better to die than to live? Jian Wushuang didn't forget his words when he was free. Although death is terrible, it brings fear to people. but the resilience of the life force cannot be exerted without facing death. Now that he is dying head-on, the life force has completely exploded. Give it to me, get out. Jian Wushuang smashed the force of death with a fist, then a flash appeared behind the opponent, and another upper knee, directly condensing the force of death to the figure, completely dispelling it. Jian Wushuang, who was holding a rough air, slowly turned his head and found that the black aura had turned into his appearance in a blink of an eye. People are mortal, and some people need a little help. This is a response to him. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and sneered, I don't need your help because my helper has arrived. Outside world. The powerful breath of the true spirit suddenly descended. Extinction, you have crossed the line. An invisible giant hand directly pulled the power of death from Jian Wushuang's body, directly through Jian Wushuang. Nei Jian Wushuang, in the Sea of Origins, breathed a sigh of relief. When the force of death was torn away, a small black snake fell into the sea, and no one noticed it. Jian Wushuang's incarnation directly feeds himself back, completely recovering from his injuries. It's just that the inner armor of the candle dragon is over, and there are some fragments left. I don't know if it can be repaired. Having just finished using the Starry Sky catalog, he is now the weakest. Although there is no injury on his body, he cannot mobilize the power of the Starry Sky and cannot enter the strongest state. Now he has only barely reached the fighting power of the Fifth Order Emperor. If there is no power from the Starry Sky, I am afraid that he will have the same combat power, so he can fight for the Sixth Order Emperor with the help of his divine body. Nie Yuan really gave him a piece of Kuei Bao. Zhen Ling turned his head and glanced at Jian Wushuang, completely shattering the power of death in his hand. Take this person and get out. The true spirit has never been so angry. Because of the extinction, it has seriously interfered with the inside of the Qixin Temple. Moreover, the power in Jian Wushuang's body is the opposite of mission, which is probably part of the plan. The extinct deity did not completely come, but the power of death remaining in Broly's body was at work. Wow! From Broly's origin, a dark shadow appeared. It is extinction. You found all of this. Miesheng leaked a smile, and then a black halo covered Broly with a wave of his hand. Broly's divine body and physical body reunited, but now he fell into a deep sleep. Zhen Ling stood in front of Jian Wushuang, staring at all this without saying anything. Jian Wushuang was a little unwilling and said, My lord, you can't let them go. It's better to kill the Dharmakaya of Broly and Miesheng. Wouldn't it be a pity to let him go like this? Little guy, a Broly will scare you. Miesheng cast a bad look. Broly's change really scared Jian Wushuang to pick it up. Jiangshang was abnormal enough and couldn't let go of another enemy. Zhen Ling shook his head and said, Before I don't regret it, let's go quickly. It's not that the true spirit is soft-hearted, but he can't make the move first. A will in my heart firmly suppressed him. It was a huge fragment of memory, a fragment of the goddess. This has not yet merged that piece of fragment. It can interfere with his consciousness. If it is merged, I am afraid that the current temple of the gods is already in charge. Miesheng also saw the true face of the true spirit entangled and reminded, You are the true spirit of the Salvo Hall, and part of the gods, don't forget. This can be regarded as a mistake in the original plan between him and the god. Unexpectedly, when the true spirit appears, there will be independent consciousness. Otherwise, the plan will be even smoother than it is now. It is precisely because of the independent consciousness that the true spirit really hated the way of swallowing and hated Jian Wushuang at the beginning. Miesheng took Broly and walked away in the channel opened by the true spirit. The channel eventually healed again. The extinction that left the Temple of Qixin appeared on the top of the universe. At the foot is a circular universe, standing on a huge celestial body, the extinct law body cursed, because this place is not a primitive universe, and even the Temple of Chishan is not a long river of time and space. The two of them had just appeared, and a team of foreign powerhouses wearing strange armors moved in this direction. This time and space can be more powerful than the long river of time and space where the original universe is located, even more powerful than the original Morwa time and space several times. Wait, fellow Tao, the extinct law body has a back, instantly raising its power to the tribulation realm, and I want to talk to this team of experts. The leading scorpion woman, wearing a purple armor, swayed her tail. She was a superb scorpion race. After discovering that extinction is a realm, there is no trace of fear, but a bit of fun. You dare to break into my scorpion human race's nest-covering universe. You are so bold. These powerful patrols of them are all emperors. It doesn't mean that there are no strong people in the robbery realm, and they are here. When the extinction was just discovered, there was a strong man who exceeded the 5 tribulations realm, and he began to descend. A huge shadow enveloped everyone. Subordinates pay homage to the general. After sending away the extinction, Zhanling's complexion eased a bit. It was not all because of the memory fragments in his body interfering with him just now, but the backlash that he opened up a channel to other time and space, which brought him back. This was also an experiment, so I took Broly to practice with Mieshing. There shouldn't be any problems with maintaining the channel between two people, but this is not enough. It is impossible to send away the Temple of Fortune God, but he can send away several trusted inheritors in the Temple of Fortune God, and he can still do it. For example, Jian Wushuang, right now. Jian Wushuang, have you ever thought of leaving here? Zhanling's sudden words shocked Jian Wushuang. Thinking that Zhanling didn't want him anymore, he hurriedly bowed to show his loyalty. Okay, I didn't mean that. Right now you have also seen that the extinction is for you, and the Temple of Chishan is not important anymore. Zhanling told the truth. Jian Wushuang could also feel it. After all, it was the road of reincarnation, comparable to the road of time and space. If this is to allow extinction to succeed, Chishan Temple, it really doesn't matter. No one knows what will become of the strength of extinction at that time. After Jian Wushuang breathed a sigh of relief, he respectfully said, "It's all up to the adults to decide. After joining the Tao, I will give you a chance after joining the Tao, and then I will leave the Temple of Chishan for a while." Zhanling said slowly with his hands behind his back. Now, Jian Wushuang's strength, although he has the ability to protect himself when traveling to other time and space, it is still too weak. At least you must go out after the success of the harmony.